Toru Aiben, a member of an S-rank party led by the hero Sein, stands in the heat of battle. The team fights fiercely against monsters, and Toru saves Lisa, his fiancée, from an attack. The group seems like a team of childhood friends bound by trust and shared goals, or so Toru believes. Everything shatters when Sein abruptly declares, "Toru, you're expelled from the party." Toru freezes in shock. He demands answers, but Sein calmly explains it is for his own good. Lisa, Toru's fiancée, agrees and adds coldly, "There's a big difference in level between you and the rest of us." Her words cut deep, especially when Toru notices a different ring on her finger, one he hasn't given her. Her attempts to hide her hand only confirm his suspicions. Toru's heart sinks further as the other party members remain silent, complicit in his betrayal. Anger and despair boil within him. His best friend betrayed him and slept with his fiancée, so Toru lashes out, punching Sein. The bar erupts into chaos as San's allies rush to his defense, throwing Toru aside. Lisa, tending to Sein, hurls one last cruel statement, "I don't want anything to do with you, stay away from us." The scene ends with Toru alone, cast out and humiliated. Outside, rain pours as if mourning with him. Toru walks aimlessly, staring at the ring Lisa has returned. Memories of happier times surface, only to be crushed by heartbreak. In despair, he screams into the storm, punches the ground, and lets out all his pain. Finally, as his tears mix with the rain, he resolves to move forward. Toru examines his stats. His level is low compared to his former teammates. Toru does not have great stats, but has a lot of skills that are all useless. While some of the skills are just useful for damage reduction, physical enhancement, and skill enhancement, like the mysterious ability and the saving system, they were useless. And when he asked experts, he was told that the uses of those skills were unknown. But Toru knew that if he had another skill as vital as Sein's, none of what happened would have happened. "I've been a burden," he thinks bitterly. Suddenly, a black demon dog appears bearing its fangs. Toru draws his sword, ready for battle. The fight ends swiftly as he defeats the creature with ease. Then something incredible happens. A surge of energy envelops him, and notifications flood his mind. His level skyrockets to 300, and his race transforms into dragon folk. Lying on the grass, Toru laughs, a cathartic release of all the pain he has endured. With newfound strength and clarity, he vows to travel the world, heal his broken heart, and live for himself. His journey begins in Armand, a bustling border town. The lively atmosphere amazes him, a stark contrast to his recent sorrows. As he explores, his gaze falls on a slave shop. "I need a partner I can trust," still haunted by betrayal. Though conflicted, he steps inside, seeking solace in the idea of loyalty bound by an unbreakable contract. The merchant greets him warmly. Toru explains that he needs a slave to accompany him in battle. The merchant, eager to help, asks if he has a specific race in mind. Toru shakes his head, and the merchant recommends a lizard man, pointing to a large, intimidating one in a cage. The merchant states that it costs 30 million, but Toru, unimpressed, asks to see more. They move deeper into the store and stop by a cage containing a beautiful elf with fair skin and smooth hair, though her ragged clothes diminish her appearance. She is priced at 25 million, but Toru's budget is far lower, only 1.5 million. The merchant then leads him to a dimly lit room filled with cages, where most creatures appear weak, sickly, or unremarkable. However, one catches Toru's attention, a small girl with dog-like ears and long hair. Their eyes meet and she gasps. 300? Both Toru and the merchant are taken aback by her reaction. Intrigued, Toru asks how much she costs, and the merchant replies that she is 110,000. Toru kneels by the cage and asks for her name. The girl answers softly, giving her name as Kaida. Satisfied, Toru decides to buy her. After the contract binding, a mark appears on Kaida's chest. Toru carries her out on his back, assuring her that she will be safe. He then takes her to a doctor who examines her and reveals that Kaida is a beast race, not fully human, and suffers from a rare disease. The only cure requires a potion made from a dragon's heart. Determined to help her, Toru ventures deep into the forest. Along the way, goblins spot him but keep their distance, too frightened to attack. Suddenly, a thunderous roar echoes through the trees. Toru sprints toward the sound and halts in awe upon coming face to face with a colossal dragon. Its gleaming scales, massive talons, and powerful wings stir the air like a storm. Without hesitation, Toru shouts for the dragon to fight him, his courage strengthened by thoughts of Kaida waiting for him. The dragon attacks, swinging its tail. But Toru dodges effortlessly. As the dragon roars, he remains unfazed, memories of his betrayal fueling his resolve. He reassures himself that he is not like them and will not abandon those who rely on him. With one powerful strike, he severs the dragon's head, tail, and even part of the cliff behind it. Overwhelmed by his own strength, he mutters in realization that this is the power of level 300. Back at the inn, Toru gives Kaida the medicine and watches as she begins to recover. Her condition improves slightly. Exhausted, he sits on his bed, reflecting on the fight and the strength he now possesses. As dawn breaks, he wakes up to find Kaida sleeping beside him. Quietly, he leaves the room and brings dragon meat to the inn's chef, who is shocked to see such a rare ingredient. The chef prepares a lavish meal, dragon steak and hamburgers. Toru savors the food and declares it delicious. After breakfast, he returns to Kaida, who is now awake in her own bed. She curiously asks what he is holding. Toru hands her a meal, telling her that it is her breakfast, a dragon burger. Kaida takes a bite, her eyes lighting up with delight. Toru watches her, smiling, and tells her that they need to get her some proper clothes. Kaida, surprised, looks down at her worn outfit. After finishing their meal, they go shopping. Toru picks out clothes for Kaida, and they also browse for weapons. Toru asks if she is sure she does not want a wand, but Kaida remains set on an iron fan. Holding it up, she insists on having it. Toru hesitates but eventually gives in after seeing how skillfully she handles it. Toru and Kaida walk through the town and pass a food stall. Kaida pauses briefly, eyeing the treats. Toru asks if she wants some, and she shyly replies that she would love some. They buy a few snacks and sit on a bench to eat. Toru hands her the food, telling her to have as much as she wants. Kaida thanks him, calling him master. Toru, looking a bit awkward, asks her to stop calling him that. Kaida's face falls, and tears well up in her eyes as she asks if he does not like her and whether he is thinking of getting rid of her. Toru quickly pats her head and reassures her, asking what she is talking about and telling her that he will never abandon her. He says that he wants her by his side for the rest of his life, admitting that he may not be perfect, but needs her and is counting on her. Hearing this, Kaida grabs his hand tightly and declares that he is the best master. She promises to do anything for him and pleads to stay with him forever. Toru blushes and smiles, admitting that she is making him embarrassed. As they talk, Toru suddenly feels a strange sensation inside him, something he has not felt since his transformation. An ominous aura surrounds him, and system notifications flood his vision. The skill level limit is broken, granting him new abilities, magic lending, and experience multiplier. The energy radiating from him startles Kaida, causing her to fall off the bench. As the aura grows stronger before slowly fading, Toru helps her up and apologizes, explaining that his skills have just given him more power. He asks if she is okay. Kaida nods and tells him that he is truly amazing. Toru checks his system and is shocked to see that most of his skills have reached level 50. As he ponders the changes and how his abilities surpass their usual limits, he asks Kaida if there is anything she wants. Shyly, she makes a request. Back at the inn, Toru and Kaida prepare for a bath. Kaida hesitantly asks if they are really going in together. Toru responds that it is not like he is interested in a girl's body. As he helps Kaida wash up, he learns that she is part of the fox folk. While cleaning her hair, his hand accidentally brushes against her inappropriately, leaving both of them shocked. He quickly apologizes, but Kaida, looking serious, tells him that she does not mind if that is what he wants. Toru flicks her forehead gently and replies that he will think about it when she is older. Afterward, Kaida cuts her hair, and Toru notices a small bump on her head. He asks what it is, and Kaida replies that it is her ears. Toru, confused, remarks that she has human ears as well. Kaida explains that some believe God gave beast folk both types of ears when they were created. As they finish cleaning up, Kaida beams, saying that today was wonderful and hoping they will have more fun tomorrow. Toru smiles and assures her that they will, and that he will always be with her. The next day, Toru returns from errands, looking frustrated. Kaida, hanging close to dry, asks what is wrong. Toru sighs and complains about the cost of sword repairs. He shows her his broken blade and explains how he tried to buy a new one. In a flashback, he tests a sturdy sword in a shop. When he swings it, the entire shop shakes, windows shatter, and weapons fly off their racks. Concluding his story, he grumbles about being stuck with this mess. Kaida grins and excitedly tells him that she knows the perfect weapon for him. She leads him to the Temple of Sacred Arms. The ancient temple is in ruins, surrounded by overgrown plants, but its massive white pillars remain awe-inspiring. Inside, Kaida explains that there are two tests to obtain the sacred weapon: opening the temple's doors and pulling the weapon from its pedestal. Toru hesitates before the enormous door which has no handle. Kaida suggests that he try touching it. As soon as Toru places his hand on the door, it glows with a magical aura and opens. Kaida proudly congratulates him on completing the first test. Inside, torches illuminate the path to a pedestal bathed in sunlight. Resting on it is the sacred weapon, its tip buried in stone. Toru observes that it is a one-handed weapon. Kaida explains that the sacred arms change size and shape to suit their owner. Toru approaches the weapon and begins to pull. With great effort, he succeeds in freeing it from the stone. Kaida cheers, showering him with praise. Toru recalls how his former teammates and even his fiancée never complimented him. Kaida smiles brightly, saying that now they can go on adventures together. Toru grins back and tells her that once they reach the city, they will form a group and make their debut as adventurers. Kaida nods eagerly in agreement. Their journey is only beginning, but Toru feels grateful for his loyal companion by his side. A flashback then appears. Toru was an idiot for being unable to discover that Lisa was already his mine a long time ago. But then Toru never knew that all three girls were in love with him, which made Sane very jealous and envious of him. However, he gained a perfect ability known as the Demonic Eye of Lore. With this ability, Sane was able to captivate the opposite sex forcibly. Meanwhile, while he was always an impeccable man, Nii, Lisa, and Sora chose Toru over him, which led him to use his ability on the girls, making them infatuated with him. However, Sane was happy to have Toru out his way, as he had all the time to enjoy the girls to himself, without being cautious. However, Sane believed that he would soon fight the Demon Lord, becoming a hero. However, the Demon Lord is known as a disaster that appears once every 100 years, and he also thought that he would seek out the sacred arms to get his mission done. And by then, he would have gained so much fame and money that he would get himself a harem of princesses. In the present, Sane is shocked and demands to know if the dragon has already been defeated, his voice filled with disbelief. The nobleman he addresses looks apologetic as he tells Sane that he is sorry for putting him through this. Taking a deep breath, Sane replies more calmly, saying that he is just surprised it happened so suddenly before asking who killed it. The nobleman hesitates before answering that they do not know. When they arrived in the forest to investigate, the dragon was already dead. Outside, Sane slams his fist against a tree trunk in frustration, feeling furious that someone else has killed the dragon before he could. Lisa approaches cautiously and asks if he is angry. He curtly replies that he is not. Nai, ever lighthearted, giggles as she suggests forgetting about the dragon and having some fun at the inn. Sane's patience snaps and he barks at her to shut up. Meanwhile, Sarah wonders aloud who could have defeated the red dragon, pointing out that no ordinary adventurer could have managed that. Sane forces a smile and states that now that the city is safe, they should change plans and move forward. Later, when they reach the temple, Sane's frustration boils over as he sees the empty pedestal. He yells in rage, declaring that the sacred arms are gone, his voice echoing through the temple. His anger intensifies as he shouts again, demanding to know who took them. Lisa, trying to calm him, places a hand on his arm, but he shoves her aside, causing her to fall. He snaps at her not to touch him and threatens to kill her. Lisa stammers an apology, trembling. Sane's mind races. Ever since Toru left the party, things have gone wrong. He wonders if Toru could be the one responsible, but immediately dismisses the thought until doubt lingers. Whoever he is up against must be strong, stronger than anyone he knows in Armand. If they killed the dragon, then they probably took the sacred arms too. If he finds them, he will kill them. With his decision made, Sane turns to his group and declares that they are changing plans. They will go to the dungeon of Luntata, and completing it will bring him the recognition he deserves. His eyes burn with determination as he storms out of the temple. A local man informs Sane that there was a dungeon there last month. Sane demands directions, but the man shrugs, explaining that there is no map and that he should just keep walking forward. Following the vague advice, Sane and his group make their way to the location, only to find a massive crater where the dungeon once stood. Sane falls to his knees, his strength drained, and shouts in frustration, his voice echoing into the emptiness. 1 month earlier in Luntata, Kaida's excitement is palpable as she announces that she has obtained an adventurer's card. She holds up her identity card, her smiling face in rank, D clearly visible. Toru, seeing her enthusiasm, reminds her not to lose it and emphasizes the card's importance for identification. He glances at his own card, reflecting on his past as a member of an S-rank party, though his current rank is B. It does not bother him. As they walk through town, Kaida wrinkles her nose and complains about the strong scent of alcohol in the air. Toru chuckles and explains that the town is known for its drinks and entertainment. Kaida frowns and insists that since he has her, he does not need to visit such places. Toru smirks and questions what exactly she means by places like that. Embarrassed, Kaida pouts, her cheeks flushing, before quickly changing the subject by mentioning that she has heard about a dungeon in the city. Toru confirms its existence, noting that it is older than the city itself, and informs her that they will explore it the next day. Curious, he asks what she knows about dungeons. Kaida admits that she does not know much, and that the upcoming adventure will be her first experience. Toru explains that dungeons serve two main purposes for adventurers. They provide materials and equipment from the monsters inside, which is how most adventurers make their living, and they contain a core stone at their deepest level, a rare material that grants incredible rewards such as skills, items, and other treasures. Kaida listens attentively and responds with determination, saying that she understands. The next day, as they venture into the dungeon, Toru reminds Kaida that she is still recovering, and that they will only explore the first floor. Kaida cheerfully agrees. They step inside, finding themselves in a crumbling palace corridor, where vines creep along the walls and cracks split the floor and ceiling. Suddenly, a monster lunges at Kaida. She shouts, "Wind Cutter!" and her magic slashes through the creature, defeating it instantly. Toru is impressed by her skill. Kaida excitedly informs him that she has already leveled up to 15. Shocked, Toru exclaims his disbelief, pointing out that they have only been in the dungeon for an hour. Kaida smiles and attributes her rapid growth to being near him. Although Toru dismisses the idea, he wonders if his abilities might be influencing her. Kaida remains enthusiastic, declaring that she will continue getting stronger to help him. As they climb to the third floor, two hulking one-eyed monsters attack Kaida. She moves acrobatically, tumbling and jumping with precision. With a quick leap behind them, she unleashes her Blizzard Blossom skill, encasing the monsters in ice before finishing them off. She turns to Toru for approval, and he nods, clearly impressed, as he acknowledges that she has cleared the entire floor. However, Kaida remains unsatisfied, and asserts that level 30 is not enough to protect him, vowing to grow stronger. Toru suggests that they return for the day, stating that they have gathered enough materials and items. Though Kaida hesitates, she ultimately agrees. As they prepare to leave, she notices something on the ground and asks what it is. Toru examines it briefly and dismisses it as garbage. However, Kaida's eyes light up as she recognizes it as a magic storage item for rare objects, capable of holding up to 100 items. Intrigued, Toru asks if it can store items of any size, and Kaida confidently confirms it. She eagerly suggests continuing their exploration, but Toru shakes his head, pointing out that they are running out of food and water. He assures her that they will have plenty of chances to level up. Kaida agrees, smiling, and they use the storage to pack away their loot. They watch in amazement as their sack vanishes into thin air. That evening, Kaida enthusiastically devours her meal, declaring that the meat is delicious. She has ordered a feast and thanks Toru for providing the meal. Toru, however, tells her that she does not need to thank him while counting the money she has earned. He is impressed by her performance in the dungeon, especially considering it was her first time. Noticing that Toru is not eating, Kaida asks if he does not want to eat. Toru explains that the food belongs to her since she earned the money for it. Kaida smiles, places some food on a plate, and hands it to him, saying that food tastes better when shared. Toru, touched by her gesture, thanks her and agrees to eat together. After their meal, they walk through town. As Toru reflects on his past, recalling the hardships and loneliness he has endured, he acknowledges that his life feels brighter with Kaida by his side. He thinks to himself that his life was once awful but has improved since meeting her. He hopes that if he can continue this peaceful journey with Kaida, he might fill the emptiness in his heart. The next morning, Kaida's panicked voice wakes Toru. She urgently calls for him to wake up. As Toru groggily opens his eyes, he freezes in shock. Before him stands a woman, her body barely covered by a blanket. Confused, Toru asks what is going on. The woman looks at him with equal confusion, explaining that she woke up in this state and does not know what to do. It is Kaida. Her appearance has completely changed. She now resembles a full-grown woman, her body mature, with the blanket barely covering her figure. Toru, struggling to believe his eyes, asks if she is really Kaida. Kaida calmly speculates that the transformation occurred due to her sudden level increase. When Toru presses for an explanation, she states that she has heard that when a child surpasses level 20, Their body grows overnight to match their new power. Toru considers this possibility, recalling how his own race had changed after a sudden level up. He had not expected Kaida to turn into such a stunning woman overnight and realizes that he can no longer treat her like a child. Toru instructs her to put on some clothes. Kaida hesitates, holding up her now too small ripped outfit, murmuring that she has nothing that fits. Toru hands her a long white shirt from his belongings and tells her to wear it for now. Kaida blushes as she smells the fabric before slipping it on and adjusting it, commenting that it is a bit big. Toru notes that she will need pants as well. Later, Kaida dresses in a new outfit. She twirls and asks Toru how she looks. Toru responds with a thumbs up, saying that it suits her. As they stop at a shop, Toru buys another iron fan for Kaida and asks if she thinks she can handle two. She confidently confirms that she can. Toru explains that using dual fans will allow her to cast two magical attacks simultaneously. As they stroll through town, people whisper about Kaida's beauty, while others make crude remarks that irritate Toru. Breaking the silence, Kaida cheerfully declares that she will earn a lot of money for Toru. But he tells her that she does not need to since he still has money left from the dragon. Instead, he insists that their focus will be on leveling her up. Toru lifts his backpack filled with food and water. Kaida's tail wags with excitement as she says, "Today will be fun." At the dungeon, they climb to a floor adorned with cascading water, falling endlessly from the ceiling. Skeleton monsters attack Kaida, but she fights back effortlessly. She uses aerial blast to launch the skeletons away, then summons magic circles that unleash sharp icicles, shattering the remaining enemies. Kaida cheers that they did it, but Toru remains unimpressed. He notes that the fourth floor only requires level 15, while Kaida is already at level 50. Feeling bored, he tells her he is tired. Kaida swings her iron fan, conjuring a small breeze. A carpet materializes and she lays it on the ground, kneeling as she pats her lap, gesturing for Toru to rest his head. He says a short break won't hurt and reluctantly lies down. As he settles in, he notices her scent, pleasant and calming. He mutters that he thinks he will sleep well and closes his eyes. When Toru wakes, he sits up and thanks Kaida, saying he slept great thanks to her. Kaida warmly replies that she is happy to hear that. Toru notices a pile of monster bones nearby and asks what happened. Kaida casually says they attacked while he was asleep, so she took care of them. Toru is impressed again. As they stand, Kaida dusts him off with her tail. The gentle touch makes Toru blush, and he wonders what this feeling is, thinking it feels divine. After a while, Toru asks to see Kaida's stats. Smiling, she shows him her progress. Her skill list is astounding. He thinks these are exceptional mage skills, especially power boost, noting that it is a rare talent found only in famous mages. He concludes that this girl is destined for greatness and glances at Kaida with admiration. He asks if they should go deeper into the dungeon, and Kaida eagerly replies that she will if he is okay with it. On the 10th floor, Kaida faces wolf-riding goblins. She stands firm and unleashes her spell, calling out aerial slash. The goblins and wolves fall cleanly in half. Toru asks if she is handling magic alright, and Kaida confidently states that her magic grows stronger with leveling up. Toru tells her to let him know if she ever needs help, and Kaida replies in agreement before creating spheres of air. She launches her next attack, Aerial Gust, causing the goblin riders to fall one after another. They continue battling through the dungeon, descending floor by floor, until they set up camp on the 20th floor. Toru hands Kaida a bowl of soup he cooks over the fire, telling her it is for her. Kaida thanks him, but adds that she should be the one serving him since she is his slave. Toru tells her there is no need to worry, as he is used to doing things like this. Curious, he asks for her current level, and Kaida answers that she is at level 150. Toru is amazed once again by her rapid advancement. They eat together, enjoying each other's company. Toru asks if there are any tricks to using magic. Kaida repeats his question before explaining that the most important thing is the image. She tells him that if he can picture it clearly, he can cast it under many conditions, even if he does not know the spell. Toru wonders if imagining a flame will make it appear. He focuses on his hand, visualizing fire. A small ember flickers to life before vanishing. He admits that it is already gone and that this is harder than it looks. Kaida assures him that he will get better with practice. The next day, Kaida is in a tough battle against 4 massive monsters: orc warriors, a cursed skeleton, and a minotaur. Toru mutters that he has never fought some of these before. He warns Kaida to watch out as she dodges their attacks with precision. When the minotaur swings at her, she casts a spell, immobilizing the monsters before finishing them off. Not hearing Toru's earlier warning, Kaida asks if he said something. Toru waves it off, reminding himself that Kaida, now level 200, is far beyond needing his help. They climb further and eventually reach the 30th floor, where floating crystals surround them and a straight path stretches ahead. Since the end of the path isn't visible, they ready their weapons and move cautiously. Toru warns that he doesn't sense any enemies, but tells her to stay alert. As they walk, the path becomes clearer, revealing a large crystal floating ahead, glowing with magical inscriptions swirling around it. Toru exclaims that it is the core and that they have reached the end of the dungeon. Kaida cheers in excitement. Kaida asks Toru to touch the core, but he hesitates, saying that she should be the one to touch it since he didn't do much this time. Kaida shakes her head, telling him that it is because of him that she has made it this far. Reluctantly, Toru approaches the core and softly thanks Kaida before placing his hand on the crystal. He recalls dreaming of completing a dungeon since he was a kid and wonders what kind of reward awaits them. After clearing the dungeon, both Toru and Kaida collapse. When Toru wakes up, he finds Kaida staring at him. Groggily, he asks what happened. Kaida points upward, revealing that the dungeon is gone, leaving only a massive hole. Toru, confused, mutters that it vanished after they cleared it and wonders where it could have gone. Kaida then notices something on Toru's hand and asks if it is a ring. Looking at his finger, Toru sees a mysterious ring that wasn't there before and wonders aloud if it could be the reward for clearing the dungeon quickly. Kaida glances at her own hand and notices a similar ring. Suddenly, glowing messages appear before them, announcing their success in traversing the Luntata labyrinth and listing their rewards. The messages state that they will receive 2 pieces of the Ring of Disguise and that a dungeon will be granted as part of the Fast Clear privilege. Kaida appraises the ring and explains that it can hide their status and improve as it levels up, even allowing them to appear as someone else at higher levels. Toru thinks that these are incredibly powerful. They decide to leave the dungeon. Kaida wonders how they will escape the massive hole, but Toru picks her up and carries her like a princess. With great strength, he leaps upward, bouncing off the walls until they reach the surface. He asks if she is alright and Kaida, impressed, tells him he did great. It is midnight and no one notices their accomplishment. They quietly leave the area. 2 days later, Toru and Kaida arrive at the city of Einarch. Toru feels that the trip has been a bit unproductive, but their main goal is to visit the ruins of the gods. The ruins are overgrown with vines and surrounded by trees. Toru observes the ancient structures and shares his thoughts, explaining that the place belonged to an advanced civilization known as the Great Races. He mentions that no one knows why they disappeared, but remnants of their buildings remain. As they explore the area, they enjoy the local food and sights. While resting by a stream, Kaida asks if he has a name in mind for their party. Toru thinks for a moment and suggests Roaming Brigade. Kaida hesitates, pointing out that it is just the 2 of them. Toru acknowledges this but says that the name has a nice ring to it and that they might add more people someday. Kaida agrees and they settle on the name. As Toru stares into the distance, he expresses his desire to explore the world at his own pace. After a moment, he turns to Kaida and asks how she became a slave. Kaida begins to explain, but their conversation is interrupted when a speeding carriage chased by 3 horsemen rushes past them. Toru immediately springs into action, shouting that they should help, before disappearing in an instant. The leader of the pursuers yells at the carriage, demanding it to stop. But before he can act, Toru appears beside him, running as fast as the horses. Startled, the leader tries to react, but Toru dismounts him with ease. The leader's men surround Toru, shouting that they should kill him. Toru takes a deep breath and exhales a powerful gust of wind, sending the attackers flying into the distance. After dealing with the attackers, a group of hidden archers reveals themselves and fires at Toru from behind. Before the arrows can reach him, Kaida swiftly deflects them. She counterattacks, taking down the archers in an instant. They do not even see her move before collapsing. A woman emerges from the nearby carriage and thanks them for their help. She introduces herself as Marianta, the daughter of Count Rwanda. Toru introduces himself as an adventurer and mentions Kaida as his slave. Impressed, Marianta invites them to her family mansion as a gesture of gratitude. Despite Toru's initial hesitation, Marianta insists, ushering both him and Kaida into her carriage. As they travel, they see the city of Einarch through the carriage window, admiring its stunning scenery filled with tall buildings and well-kept houses. Upon arrival, they are greeted by a massive mansion with an elegant steel gate. The grounds are immaculate. As they step inside, maids and butlers formally welcome them, surprising Toru with a display of wealth. A butler named Sebas welcomes Marianta back, while her personal maid, Urara, guides Toru and Kaida to their rooms. Toru flops onto the bed in his room, bouncing slightly. Marianta teases him about his excitement and suggests showing him around the city. Toru agrees and the group ventures outside. While exploring, they visit abandoned buildings and ruins. Marianta and Kaida play together like children, while Toru and Urara observe them from a distance. During their walk, Toru asks Urara about Marianta's safety. Urara assures him that Marianta is well loved by the townsfolk and mentions that she, as a former S-rank adventurer, will protect her. The group stops at a sweet shop that Marianta excitedly points out. Kaida asks Toru for permission to try some, and he hands her a small sack of coins as an allowance. Delighted, Kaida goes off with Marianta to explore more of the town. As Toru watches them, he reflects silently, thinking about how he has been saving money for Kaida, willing to free her if she wishes. Yet deep down, he carries the pain of betrayal and hopes that one day he can find peace and no longer needs someone to fill the emptiness in his heart. Eventually, the group reaches the heart of the town, where a massive statue stands. It depicts a man with a sword raised high as if charging into battle. Marianta explains that the statue was built when her father, the Lord, was younger, and that she and the townsfolk helped create it. She adds that her father finds it embarrassing, but Toru admires it. Suddenly, the ground begins to shake. The trembling grows stronger, cracking the earth and the statue. Without warning, massive tentacles erupt from the ground, reaching into the sky and grabbing people, including Marianta. Toru calls out desperately for Marianta as the tentacles retreat into the hole, taking their victims with them. Around him, people cry for their loved ones. Determined to act, Toru, Kaida, and Urara jump into the hole to rescue Marianta. Toru assures Urara that with their combined power, they will succeed. Kaida slows their descent with a spell and creates a glowing orb of light to guide their way. They find themselves in what appears to be an ancient underground city. Urara explains that the city above is built atop these ruins, describing it as a massive archaeological site. Toru observes their surroundings and quickly notices a trail of mucus leading further into the maze. Believing it comes from the creature that abducted Marianta, they decide to follow it. Toru takes the lead, with Kaida in the middle and Urara covering the rear. As they move, waves of monsters attack them and they fight through each floor. Toru questions the depth of the ruins and Urara admits that she has only explored the first 4 levels and has no knowledge of what lies beyond. As they press on, Kaida sniffs out Marianta's scent. When a monster attempts to ambush Toru, Urara swiftly eliminates it with her spear, demonstrating her high level of skill. Toru asks about her class and Urara reveals that she is an assassin, confirming that she could have dealt with the earlier bandit attack alone. Eventually, they reach a massive door adorned with a face-like design, the path lit by eerie flame. A group of horned demons appears, mocking and threatening them. Their leader grins menacingly while his followers shout violent threats. Without hesitation, Kaida casts an ice wall spell, splitting the demons and creating a path. She and Urara urge Toru to press forward while they hold off the enemies. Toru charges through the door, defeating a group of demons with his bare hands before bursting into the room. Inside, he finds a lone demon sitting atop a pile of rocks. Behind him, a slimy tentacled creature looms, holding Marianta and other captives. The demon greets Toru mockingly, calling him food for his pet. Toru stands firm, demanding to know why the city is attacked. The demon admits that he plans to overthrow the local lords by targeting Marianta, using her as leverage to control the town. The demon drags Marianta closer with a tentacle, mocking Toru as he taunts and humiliates her. Enraged but silent, Toru watches the demon laugh and gloat about his supposed victory. When the tentacles wrap around Toru, lifting and strangling him, he simply breaks free using sheer strength, surprising the demon. The demon unleashes powerful spells including explosions and floating lightning bombs, but Toru remains unharmed. With every attack, Toru advances closer, his calm demeanor unnerving his enemy. Frustrated and panicked, the demon accuses Toru of being the prophesied hero. Toru dismisses the claim, draws his sword, and cuts down both the demon and the slimy creature in one swift strike. As the demon falls, Toru responds quietly, stating that he is not a hero, but just a normal warrior. Above ground, the townspeople gather around the massive hole left behind by the monster. Marianta, finally conscious, blinks in confusion before recalling the attack and her abduction. The citizens cheer joyfully at her recovery, spreading the news that their princess is safe. Toru explains what happened, stating that a monster from the underground ruins attacked, but the city suffered minimal damage. He reassures them that no lives were lost, with only minor injuries reported. When Marianta asks who saved her, Urara reveals that it was Toru and Kaida. Marianta blushes at the acknowledgement. As word spreads, the citizens gather around to thank Toru. Marianta herself runs to Toru, embracing him tightly in gratitude. Kaida, standing nearby, cannot help but feel jealous. At the mansion, Marianta's father, the city lord, rushes to his daughter, embracing her with relief. Toru and Kaida watch the emotional reunion in silence. Kaida then remarks that Toru has defeated one of the Demon Lord's top generals. Surprised, Toru asks how she knows. She explains that the demon had boasted about being one of the 6 generals, though he was the weakest among them. Even so, the title makes him a significant threat. The city lord, overhearing, expresses his gratitude to Toru for saving Marianta not once, but twice. Marianta quickly asks her father to reward Toru, and the lord readily agrees, though he is unsure of what Toru might want. After a brief conversation, the lord promises to write a letter to aid Toru's journey to the capital and invites him to stay as long as he likes. That evening, the group enjoys a grand feast at the mansion. Toru, noticing a bit of food on Kaida's chin, wipes it away, earning her quiet thanks. Watching her, Toru reflects on her growth, but also on her youthful innocence. He wishes for her happiness, a thought he keeps to himself. As the meal continues, Marianta asks Toru if he will be free the next day. Toru, intrigued, expresses interest in exploring the underground ruins again. When Marianta eagerly declares that she will join him, Kaida voices her concerns. Urara, caught in the middle, is quickly volunteered by Kaida to accompany them. Though reluctant, Kaida eventually agrees to Marianta's request, especially after she appeals to their budding friendship. Toru outlines their plan, explaining that he will lead the group and handle any threats, while Kaida and Urara ensure Marianta's safety. He emphasizes that if things become too dangerous, they will retreat immediately. Marianta enthusiastically agrees. Toru and Kaida wait outside the mansion, standing patiently for Urara and Marianne. When Marianne emerges, she is completely encased in heavy armor, amusing and confusing Toru. In contrast, Urara wears light battle gear, complemented by a scarf and mask resembling a ninja's attire. Marianne explains that her father insists she wear the bulky armor for safety, but Toru quickly points out that it would hinder her movement. Reluctantly, she returns inside to change. When she reappears, Marianne wears simple robes resembling a wizard's outfit and carries a slim sword at her side. Toru approves of her new attire, and the group sets off toward the underground ruins once more. As they descend, Toru decides that they will explore the 3rd floor since they are already familiar with the lower levels. Curious, he asks Marianne about the dangers of the ruins. She explains that while parts of the ruins are deteriorating and infested with demons, much of the area remains unexplored, making it significantly risky. Acknowledging the hazards, Toru insists that Marianne's safety is their top priority and vows to handle the most dangerous areas himself. Marianne, determined, declares that she can defend herself, but Toru teases her by asking how her father might react to such bold claims. The group presses on until Kaida detects a demonic presence ahead, using her heightened senses. She appraises the area and identifies strange vegetation and plants. As they observe, a dungeon rat wanders into the vines, only to succumb instantly as mushrooms sprout from its body. Kaida determines that the area is laced with deadly poison and suggests that Toru handle it. Toru agrees, instructing the others to wait. Worried, Marianne clings to him in concern. Toru reassures her with a confident smile before advancing alone into the perilous zone. As he moves forward, poisonous mushroom-like monsters attack him, but he fights them off, motivated by the trust of his companions. Surprisingly, the poison has no effect on him. Reflecting on his immunity, he speculates that his dragonfolk heritage might make him incredibly resistant. Eventually, he reaches a wooden door. Inside, he discovers a dusty cobweb-filled room with shelves lined with books and bottles. Among the relics, he finds a chest containing bottles of a mysterious elixir and a key. He gathers these treasures and returns to his waiting companions. Kaida is the first to greet him, eager to know what he has found. Toru proudly shows the elixir and key, speculating that the key might unlock something nearby. Marianne praises his abilities and embraces him once again. Much to Kaida's jealousy, Kaida promptly pulls Marianne away, grumbling about her being too close to Toru. The group continues to the 2nd floor studying their map. Toru notes that much of the area remains uncharted, and Marianne shares her belief that the ruins might have once been an underground fortress. Though its true purpose is uncertain, Toru ponders the mysteries of the ruins as they prepare to delve deeper. Marianne interrupts his thoughts by asking him to teach her how to fight. She expresses her frustration at always relying on others for protection and her desire to grow stronger to support her father. Toru initially refuses, but Marianne's heartfelt plea moves him. Kaida chimes in, offering to heal Marianne if she gets hurt, and even Urara, though hesitant, agrees to support her princess's determination. Just as they resolve to begin Marianne's training, a sudden surge of energy radiates from Toru. Information floods his mind as a system announcement echoes within him, listing his newly acquired job titles: Imitator, Master Tamer, Dragon Knight, Great Thief. Another notification states that he has reached the maximum level of experience value saving, and that a rank increase is being applied. A sudden burst of light shoots from the ruins, reaching up into the sky. Nearby adventurers notice the phenomenon. One remarks that it resembles lightning, but his companion dismisses the idea, pointing out the clear sky. Deep in the dungeon, Toru's aura flares uncontrollably, forcing his companions to step back. The overwhelming power leaves him questioning its timing. He wonders why this is happening now as he processes the sudden upgrades to his skills and the revelation of new job titles. As the smoke clears and his aura subsides, Toru turns to his companions and asks if it is over, noting their worried faces. Marianne and Urara question whether this is related to his abilities or something far worse. Toru reassures them, explaining that his stats have changed and that he needs a moment to examine them. Reviewing his status, he sees that most of his skills are now at level 50, except for one at level 48. His new jobs include Warrior, Dragon Knight, Master Tamir, Imitator, and Great Thief. Confused, he mentions the additions, prompting Kaida to examine his stats. She is astounded, declaring his job superior and high-ranking. She explains the unique abilities of each role. Dragon Knight enhances movement and the ability to detect weaknesses. Great Thief excels in treasure hunting and trap detection. And Master Tamer specializes in demon combat and mounts. When Toru asks about the Imitator, Kaida admits that its description appears blurred, making it unclear. Another unfamiliar term, possessions, catches Toru's eye, sparking a vague memory. Breaking his thoughts, Kaida asks if he is alright. Snapping back to the moment, Toru gives Marianne clear instructions, stating that she must withdraw immediately if ordered. Marianne agrees but then requests to formally join Toru's party. Initially reluctant, Toru accepts after Kaida explains that their sincerity should not be doubted. From that day forward, Marianne and Urara become members of the Manhwa Brigade. As the group continues exploring the ruins, they encounter monsters. During one fight, a goblin lunges at Marianne. Terrified, she freezes and shuts her eyes, but Toru swiftly kills the creature. He sternly reminds her never to close her eyes in battle. Marianne nods. Kaida demonstrates her ice needle attack, summoning sharp spikes of ice to impale nearby goblins. Aurora displays her agility by flipping away from the ice and taking down a goblin with a precise neck twist. Encouraged by their teamwork, Toru urges Marianne to stay calm and observe her enemy's movements. To prove his point, he effortlessly catches a goblin and throws it into its comrades. Inspired, Marianne grips her sword tightly and charges into battle with newfound resolve. The group pushes deeper into the ruins, eventually reaching a web-covered area where Marianne successfully defeats a massive arachnid on her own. Overjoyed, she celebrates her achievement. Both Urara and Toru praise her bravery and skill, noting her progress. Marianne excitedly announces that her level has risen to 30, while Urara shares that she has advanced to level 70. Reflecting on the group's progress, Kaida fondly recalls her early days as an adventurer. Toru teases her, joking that she had been even more inexperienced than Marianne. As they venture further, they find a dead-end wall overgrown with vines. Toru notices something unusual, taps the wall, and discovers that it is hollow. With a single finger, he pierces a hole large enough for them to pass through. The hidden room beyond is filled with treasures, chests, weapons, and mysterious objects. Among the items, Toru finds a strange egg and a peculiar stone. Curious, Kaida appraises the egg, identifying it as a dormant summoned beast. She explains that ancient civilizations created such creatures to assist in daily life and combat. To awaken the egg, one must pour magic into it. Eager to try, Toru infuses the egg with his magic. Despite his overwhelming energy, the egg remains dormant. Kaida theorizes that the creature must have originally possessed immense magical power, requiring even more energy to revive. Determined, Toru unleashes a surge of magic so intense it distorts the space around them, His companions feel as though they are underwater, overwhelmed by the force. Finally, Toru completes the ritual by dropping a bit of his blood onto the egg. It glows brilliantly and hatches. Smoke fills the room as the summoned creature emerges. A fluffy, cloud-like being with a single large eye, it floats in front of them, letting out a cheerful sound. Phew! The group marvels at the unusual creature. Toru stares at the strange, floating beast. He wonders aloud if it is really a beast. The creature floats over to Kaida, who reaches out and touches it gently. Toru admits that he does not know what kind of monster this is, but Kaida only smiles. She replies that it is beautiful, then casts a water spell to wash the creature. Toru remarks that the creature is cute, but wonders if it is useful. As if responding to his doubts, the creature suddenly lifts Kaida off the ground. Observing this, Toru notes that it looks like it can carry people. Kaida delights in the softness of the creature, calling it amazing. Toru starts considering the possibility of using it for transporting things. Kaida suggests that they name it, and Toru agrees. Deciding on the name Panda, Kaida approves, saying that it is a beautiful name. The girls gather around Panda, admiring the fluffy creature, while Toru holds the other egg, which resembles a rock. He wonders what might be inside, eager to discover its contents. The group returns to the mansion, where they unload their spoils from the ruins, including many bottles of potions. Toru holds up a large bottle found in the room with poisonous vines. Kaida examines it and identifies it as an elixir. Overhearing the conversation, the Count expresses astonishment. He remarks that an elixir is an ultra-rare item, not something one would find easily, and suggests that Toru sell it at an auction in the royal capital. Toru considers the suggestion, thinking that he will look into it when they reach the capital. The Count then presents Toru with a pile of money in exchange for the relics he has sold. Urara neatly stacks coins and bills on the table. Astonished, he asks how much it is. As he picks up a coin, he marvels at the sight, thinking that it is the first gold coin he has ever seen. Suddenly, Panda flies into the room, with Marianne chasing after it. She calls out for Panda to come back, saying she has not finished washing it. Instantly, Kaida grabs Toru, pulling him away and hiding his face at the Count's size and exasperation as Marianne's embarrassed scream echoes through the mansion. Flustered, Toru mutters to himself that he thinks he will sleep well tonight. The next morning, Toru wakes to a beautiful day. He stretches his arms and smiles, thinking that it is another perfect day to continue their journey. Reflecting on the past few days, he recalls exploring ruins, hunting demons, and watching Marianne level up to 100, with Urara close behind at level 80. He has kept his promise, and now his companions are as strong as heroes. Toru steps out of his room and is greeted by Kaida and Panda, who floats nearby. They head outside and find Marianne practicing with her sword. She greets Toru, addressing him respectfully. Along with Urara, Toru compliments Marianne, noting how naturally she moves, as if the sword is an extension of her body. Marianne acknowledges the strange feeling, admitting that she has never felt this way before. Marianne then asks if Toru really plans to leave today. Toru explains that he could stay longer, but he has received a letter from the Count about an auction he needs to attend. Marianne smiles but confesses her envy of Kaida, who gets to travel with Toru. She expresses her wish to see the world, but acknowledges that, as a daughter of a noble family, she is stuck in the city. She smiles, but Toru reflects silently. He thinks about how Marianne will eventually have to marry, with no say in her choice. She will be kept in a cage until that time comes. As the time arrives for Toru and Kaida to leave, he thanks the Count for everything. The Count replies that he should be the one thanking Toru, grateful that he has helped keep his daughter alive. Toru turns to Marianne and reassures her that they will meet again, telling her not to be sad. But Marianne's eyes fill with tears as she responds that she will miss them both so much. Kaida rushes to Marianne, pulling her into an embrace, promising that they will not forget her. Marianne wipes her eyes and smiles through her tears, saying that she is so jealous of Kaida. The group exchanges bows before parting ways, each of them feeling the weight of the departure. Back in Luntata, Sen grows increasingly frustrated, shouting as he desperately searches for the dungeon. One of the nearby adventurers responds by asking if he is new around there, explaining that the dungeon disappeared a while ago. Feeling restless and defeated, Sane vents his frustration. Sora, noticing his distress, approaches him to offer comfort, asking if he is alright. But Sane, overwhelmed by anger, snaps, yelling at her not to touch him and calling her a bitch. He suddenly grabs Sora by the throat, shouting and demanding to know how she dares to pity him. As he tightens his grip, Sora gasps for air. Lisa rushes to her aid, pleading for him to stop and warning that Sora will die if he does not let go. After a tense moment, Sein finally releases his grip on Sora. Nai, visibly upset, scolds him, telling him that he should not treat his friends like that. Onlookers whisper among themselves, shocked by what they have just seen. One woman remarks on how horrible that man is, while another asks if they should call the soldiers. Realizing that his reputation is at risk, Sein quickly casts a brainwashing spell. The three girls, once again under his control, follow him without question. The group finds a quiet spot in the forest to rest and discuss their next move. Lisa suggests that Armon Kingdom would be the perfect place for them to make their mark. She advises that it might be better to return to their country and start over with a new plan. Sein, still determined, questions her reasoning. Lisa explains that their plans rely on him getting the sacred sword, but they keep failing. She warns that it is not safe to continue like this, and insists that they need a new plan. Sein reluctantly agrees that their previous efforts have not worked, but refuses to accept failure. He is not ready to give up yet. Nai, eager for a solution, mentions that there is a town called Anarch at the end of the road. She suggests that there might be some great unexplored ruins there, and proposes that they go, find some treasure, and make a name for themselves. Sein's mood brightens at the idea. He excitedly agrees, convinced that if they do that, they will definitely attract attention. With renewed determination, he declares that they should head for Anarch. Later, in Count Rowan's mansion, Sein hears some bad news. He asks in disbelief what was just said. The Count explains that the ruins Sein is interested in have already been explored, and that there is nothing left to find. Sein's frustration deepens, and he demands to know who explored it. The Count answers that it was the Mono Brigade, mentioning that they explored the ruins after taking down a demon army general. Just then, Marianne enters the room, apologizing for the interruption. Sein notices her and is immediately captivated by her beauty. He begins fantasizing about her, deciding that he will make her his slave as well. He casts his brainwashing spell, but to his shock, it does not work. Marianne notices, locking eyes with him. Sein suddenly screams in pain, confused by what is happening. A notice appears in his mind, informing him that his magic eye has failed because the target's level is higher than his own. Sein cannot believe it. He questions whether this means Marianne is stronger than him, even a hero. Just then, Marianne draws her sword and points it at his neck, demanding to know what he just did to her. The Count, disappointed, speaks up, reminding Sein that while he claims to be the one chosen by God, sometimes God also favors those who earn it through hard work. Humiliated, Sein asks if that means God favors this adventurer over him. The Count responds that it is hard to say, but she certainly has the strength to make them believe in her and that her heart is pure. The Count then tells Sein that he no longer has any business there and warns him to leave before he gets hurt. Frustrated, Sein wanders into some nearby ruins, taking out his anger on an old wall. He yells in frustration, questioning why nothing he does ever works, insisting that he is the hero. Lisa, still concerned for him, suggests that they return to their country. Sein snaps, rejecting the idea. He reminds them that they are going to Armon for the sacred sword, insisting that this is his decision. Still determined, Sein vows that he will get the sacred sword and become the man he was before, the perfect version of himself, the one who has everything under control. His eyes burn with anger as he speaks. Meanwhile, Toru and Kaida face an attack by wyverns. Kaida casts an icicle rain spell, causing sharp icicles to fall from the sky and strike the wyverns. Toru, holding a symbol tattooed on his hand, summons a creature. He orders Razuk to attack, and the spear-like creature emerges from the symbol, quickly piercing the wyverns one after another. The creature chirps, letting out a sha. Toru praises it, telling Razuk that it did well. Later, the two sit around a campfire, resting. Kaida remarks on the fact that there was another beast inside the second egg, finding it hard to believe. She notes that Razuk is completely different from Panda. Toru agrees, pointing out that Panda is more of a transporter, while Razuk is a fighter and can fly really high, making him very useful. Suddenly, Panda makes a noise. It chirps, letting out a cue. In an unintelligible language, Kaida looks at Panda and asks if it wants to show off too. Toru, surprised, asks if she can understand Panda. Kaida replies that she cannot explain it, but yes, she can. Panda and Razuk seem to communicate, exchanging chirps. Then, the two creatures take off into the sky, racing each other. Razuk quickly pulls ahead, but Panda soon returns, admitting defeat. Toru smiles, realizing that they had a flying contest. He concludes that Panda can only fly about 10 meters, but Razuk is much faster. Toru then calls Razuk back, and the creature obediently returns to his side. Toru compliments it, admitting that he did not know it could fly so far, joking that it would make a great rope. Just then, his stomach growls, and he suggests to Kaida that they prepare some food. Toru puts Razuk back into the symbol on his hand and begins preparing their meal. However, Kaida steps forward eagerly, asking if she may cook today. Toru agrees, and Kaida happily starts cooking, excited to show what she has learned from Urara. After a while, Kaida appears wearing an apron, asking Toru what he thinks. Toru smiles, telling her that it looks lovely, and asks when she got it. She answers that she bought it when she and Marianne went shopping. However, Toru grows concerned when he sees the strange ingredients Kaida is using. The water in the pot boils, and Kaida begins preparing the first ingredient. She explains that they need to disembowel the devil frog, skin it, chop it, and put it in the pot. She then adds a skull-shaped mushroom and some roots that resemble mummified bodies. Both Toru and Panda look at the meal with hesitation. Toru wonders whether it is even edible, noting that it is purple. Once the dish is ready, Kaida serves it to Toru, cheerfully presenting his meal. Toru hesitates but takes a bite. To his surprise, it tastes good. Impressed, he admits that it is very good. Overjoyed, Kaida hugs Toru, promising that she will do everything she can to help him. Toru chuckles, telling her that it is okay, but that she should take it easy. Kaida stays close, still hugging Toru, and seems to be in a happy mood. Toru, sensing a strange tension in the air, strokes Kaida's tail, which weakens her knees and brings a smile to her face. Her eyes, filled with longing, silently plead with him. As she moves closer, Lisa's image resurfaces in Toru's mind. Lisa's voice lingers, expressing how pitiful he is for buying a slave to please himself after she abandoned him, saying the girl will do anything he wants. Toru quickly disperses the tension, raising his voice and saying he wishes to eat some more. Kaida, surprised, asks if he really does, then reassures him that there is plenty more food, encouraging him to ask for more. Toru sighs in relief, thinking to himself that he nearly gives in to his instincts, but refuses to treat Kaida like an object. Suddenly, Kaida shouts that a group of wyverns has appeared, drawn by the scent of their food, noting that they are larger than the ones they fought earlier. She asks if she should handle them, but Toru shakes his head, stating that he wants to see what Razuk can do, and deciding to let the beast take care of them. Calling out to Razuk, he orders the creature to take them down. The summoned beast swiftly defeats all the wyverns, displaying overwhelming strength. Toru, impressed, questions whether such power is normal for summoned beasts. Kaida responds uncertainly, suggesting that it might be due to his blood or the effect of the Master Tamer job. Toru acknowledges the possibility, recalling that he does indeed possess that job. As they continue their journey, they eventually reach the capital, Armand. Kaida, awestruck by the city's scale, exclaims in amazement, questioning whether it is truly the capital. Toru explains that Armand is a vast country with a wide variety of goods, places to visit, and numerous stores selling unusual items. Adding that even famous adventurers can be found there, the city bustles with activity, its streets lined with merchants and adventurers roaming everywhere. Kaida beams with excitement, expressing how much she looks forward to exploring the city. However, Toru reminds her that he has something to do first for Count Rowan, mentioning that he must deliver a letter. Kaida asks to whom, and Toru states that it is for Jonathan Rockbell, a well-known figure in the royal capital who runs a shipping business. As they walk, a commotion suddenly erupts nearby. A voice calls out, urging someone to stop whatever is happening. A creature resembling a triceratops pulling a carriage runs wild through the streets. Toru observes that it is a ceratops, a subspecies of dragon, and assumes that something must have spooked it. The creature causes chaos as people scatter in fear. A merchant shouts at bystanders to move out of the way. Kaida asks Toru if he wants her to stop it, but before he can respond, two adventurers shove past him, demanding that people get out of the way. A citizen whispers that they are the Saul brothers, Class A dragon hunters, prompting another to express relief, believing they are saved. The Saul brothers attempt to stop the ceratops by grabbing its horns, but the creature overpowers them, tossing them aside effortlessly. It then charges toward a mother and her child standing before their house, seemingly about to crush them. Toru steps forward and declares that he will handle it. As the beast charges, he stops it with a single hand by gripping its horn. The gathered citizens watch in astonishment. Nearby, the merchant thrown from the carriage lands on the ground, still dazed. Meanwhile, Toru calmly pats the ceratops' horn, soothing it and calling it a good boy. The merchant, regaining his senses, approaches and expresses gratitude, asking if Toru is unharmed. Toru confirms that he is fine, then asks if the merchant knows Jonathan Rockbell. Later, inside a building in Armand, a middle-aged man greets Toru, acknowledging that he has heard about him saving their vice president. Introducing himself as Jonathan Rockbell, the president of the company, he takes the letter Toru has brought and notes that it is from Count Rowan. Handing over the letter, Toru listens as Rockbell remarks that he has heard of what Toru did in Einark. Toru downplays it, saying that he merely did what he believed was right. Rockbell, seemingly satisfied, states that he will carry out the Count's request. Toru, confused, asks what the request is. Rockbell, however, withholds the details, explaining that he cannot reveal them yet and that he needs some time. He instructs Toru to return the next night. Still puzzled, Toru questions whether Rockbell will provide the answers he seeks if he returns then. Rockbell promises that he will, but advises Toru to dress more appropriately. Toru, uncertain about Rockbell's intent, wonders to himself what the man means, hoping that whatever comes next will not be too troublesome. As the royal meeting, a significant formal event commences, Toru shifts uncomfortably in the stiff attire he is unaccustomed to wearing. Muttering about how unpleasant it is, he receives reassurance from Kaida, who insists that he looks remarkably cool. Just then, Jonathan approaches, his demeanor calm yet authoritative. Greeting Toru warmly, he expresses his relief at Toru's arrival and gestures toward the carriage, signaling them to get inside. Once seated inside the carriage, Jonathan leans in and instructs them to remain silent about their destination, emphasizing that it is not a subject for casual conversation. When Toru questions whether it is dangerous, Jonathan clarifies that the concern is not about danger, but about the significance of the person they are about to meet. He states that this is no ordinary individual and that their conversation will carry great consequences. Jonathan reassures them that this meeting could serve as a turning point, offering an invaluable opportunity. The carriage halts before a grand palace, and Toru's breath catches as he takes in the magnificent structure, its grandeur surpassing anything he has ever seen. As they step inside, a butler greets them and asks them to wait. Toru and Kaida settle in a lavish sitting area. While Kaida remains composed, Toru's mind races as he tries to piece together the purpose of this meeting, realizing that it will be his first encounter with someone of such immense stature. Moments later, the room stirs with the arrival of King Armand, flanked by two imposing knights. The king carries himself with regal authority and formally states that from this point forward, their meeting will be regarded as an official audience. Jonathan acknowledges the statement with a respectful yes. The king explains that their presence has been requested to address a pressing matter that requires the unique skills of an adventurer. Toru glances at Jonathan, silently seeking permission to speak. Jonathan gives him a nod, prompting Toru to address the king with a steady voice, asking what is required of him. The king reveals the dire situation. The imperial capital faces a grave threat, a deadly demon. The Death Ant Queen has emerged, a creature capable of annihilating entire armies. Toru's eyes widen in shock as he processes the enormity of the task. Kaida, concerned, suggests deploying troops instead, but the king shakes his head, outlining the grim reality. Their army, weakened and unprepared, is no match for the beast. He explains that the Death Ants are relentless, consuming everything in their path, including nearby villages. Some have already been completely destroyed, and it is only a matter of time before the Death Ant Queen turns her sights on the capital. The urgency in the king's voice intensifies as he addresses Toru directly, demanding an answer. Can he take on this dangerous task or not? The room falls into silence as Toru considers the request. After a moment of thought, he meets the king's gaze and gives his answer. Yes, he can do it. Both the king and Jonathan are taken aback, stunned by Toru's confidence. King Armand rises from his seat, demanding to know how Toru plans to succeed. Without waiting for an explanation, the king makes an extraordinary offer. If Toru succeeds, he will grant him a noble title, land, and even the title of hero. However, Toru's response catches them off guard. He politely declines the titles, stating that he has no interest in such rewards. Instead, he requests money. King Armand hesitates for a moment before agreeing, offering a staggering 300 million in gold for the completion of the task. Without hesitation, Toru accepts, stating that the amount is more than enough. With the agreement made, Toru declares that they will begin the mission at dawn and requests a guide to lead them to the Death Ant's nest. King Armand assigns a corps commander to the task and once again questions whether Toru is truly uninterested in the title of hero. Toru simply replies that he dislikes standing out and only wants to enjoy his journey. The next morning, the group sets off. Toru, Kaida, and the assigned commander. Their path leads deep into a dense forest, the air heavy with tension. Along the way, Toru notices lifeless soldiers scattered on the ground, their bodies a grim reminder of the danger ahead. The commander explains somberly that these are the victims of previous attempts to confront the death ants. He warns them to remain vigilant as they approach the nest. Kaida, looking thoughtful, suddenly asks whether death ants are truly dangerous. Both Toru and the commander react with surprise at her lack of awareness. The commander, astonished, remarks that even a child knows how deadly they are. Kaida, realizing her mistake, apologizes, her curiosity exposing her inexperience. Toru glances at her, reflecting on how despite her refined demeanor, she occasionally reveals an unexpected lack of common knowledge. He wonders about her past, perhaps she comes from a distant place, or has lived under conditions that shielded her from such matters. The thought lingers in his mind as he questions how someone like her ended up as a slave. Suddenly, Kaida's sharp eyes catch movement in the trees. She points toward the shadows, asking whether the creatures lurking there are the death ants. Toru, his tone serious, confirms that they are. The commander, scanning the area, realizes that they have unknowingly entered the ants' territory. His voice betrays his alarm as he takes in the overwhelming number of creatures surrounding them. As he looks at the young adventurers before him, he wonders whether entrusting the kingdom's fate to them is a mistake. The relentless sight of the death ants and the memory of the fallen soldiers weigh on his mind. Could these two possibly succeed where so many others have failed? Doubt clouds his judgment as the group races for battle. The commander issues a warning. The enemy is approaching. Without hesitation, Toru swings his sword. A powerful gust of wind surges forward, cutting through the swarm of death ants in an instant. Kaida immediately follows up, unleashing her air press technique to eliminate more of the incoming ants. The force of their combined magic is so overwhelming that the ground trembles as though struck by an earthquake. The death ants in the vicinity are wiped out in an instant, leaving no trace behind. The commander, eyes wide, stands in stunned silence, unable to believe what he has just witnessed. Toru, surveying the aftermath, remarks that with so many ants around, finding their nest will be difficult. Kaida, feeling a tinge of guilt, suggests using a wide area spell to improve their visibility of the surroundings. The commander, still in shock, questions whether such a thing is even possible. Kaida steps forward, her confidence unwavering, and unleashes her twin tornadoes. Two massive crystals tear through the forest, clearing their path. She follows it up with an Ice Age spell, freezing everything in her way. The entire area turns icy, and many of the death ants, along with nearby monsters, freeze and shatter. The commander stands dumbfounded, his mouth hanging open in disbelief. Toru chuckles lightly and tells Kaida she might have overdone it. Kaida apologizes, explaining that it has been a while since she used such powerful magic and admits she hadn't adjusted it properly. The commander, still in shock, asks if it would be alright for him to leave, feeling he would only be a burden. Toru assures him it's fine and thanks him for guiding them. As the commander departs, Kaida notices something unusual, a narrow hole in the ground that seems significant. Toru examines it closely and remarks that the hole looks difficult to navigate and warns it could be dangerous to enter. Kaida eagerly asks if she should use magic to attack the hole, but Toru shakes his head, explaining that their magic likely wouldn't reach the bottom. Toru also points out that they need to bring back the queen's head to claim the reward. Briefly considering other methods, he decides it would be simpler to confront the queen directly. Kaida jokes that it would be better if the nest were built like a dungeon, sparking an idea in Toru. Remembering his dungeon authority level 3, he wonders if he can create a dungeon here. Without hesitation, he tries and successfully summons a dungeon on the spot. Both he and Kaida are amazed. Kaida observes that the dungeon resembles the one in Luntata. Toru explains that as the dungeon owner, he can freely move between floors. With a simple command, he transfers them to the queen's lair. The Death Ant Queen, startled, demands to know what they have done to her nest. Toru calmly notes her massive size, and Kaida remarks that the queen seems angry. In an instant, the queen commands her ants to attack. But before they can act, Kaida waves her fan. The ants explode into pieces, instantly vanquished. The queen, horrified, watches her children destroyed in a flash. Toru chuckles, commenting on Kaida's ruthlessness. Enraged, the queen snarls and begins devouring the fallen ants' bodies. Her level rises rapidly, and she boasts that at level 86, even a hero cannot defeat her. The queen attacks, unleashing 4 massive arms. Toru dodges with ease, complementing her speed, but she traps him in a block of ice with an ice snap. Believing him dead, the queen gloats, claiming high-ranking demons can use magic. Turning to Kaida, the queen taunts her, asking if she is at a loss for words. Unfazed, Kaida simply smiles. Meanwhile, Toru, trapped in ice, admires the queen's strength and smiles at the challenge. With a powerful kick, he shatters the ice block and steps free. The queen's twisted smile falters as she observes him. Curious and enraged, she demands to know who he really is. Toru calmly responds that he is just a humble warrior. Furious at his response, the queen unleashes her earthbreak skill, causing the ground to fracture violently. Toru leaps into the air to evade the attack. The queen spits a stream of corrosive formic acid, which Toru narrowly avoids, recognizing its devastating power. Determined, he spins his sword like a helicopter, creating gusts of wind to deflect the acid while activating a magical barrier to shield himself. Back on solid ground, Toru taunts the queen, warning her that he will end this now. Enraged, she launches a frenzied attack, but Toru evades every strike with ease. In a flash, he strikes with his blade, decapitating the queen in a single blow. Her massive head hits the ground, marking the end of her reign. Kaida approaches Toru, holding a towel, and remarks on how hard he has worked. She hands him the towel with a soft smile. Kaida then asks what they should do about the other floors of the dungeon. Toru glances at the dungeon's layout and decides that the remaining threats will likely take care of themselves in time. Just as they are about to leave, the queen's severed head suddenly speaks, refusing to accept defeat. She swears vengeance and promises that they will face grave consequences. Toru and Kaida are both surprised to hear her still alive. Kaida, however, casually picks up the queen's head. Annoyed by the noise, she decides to store it in her magic storage. Toru agrees, saying it is a smart solution to keep her quiet. Later, back at Jonathan's mansion, Toru presents a chest containing the queen's head. Jonathan opens it, he turns to Toru, and remarks that he truly is the kind of man Rowan described, a man capable of achieving the impossible. As Toru stands before Jonathan, Jonathan praises him, explaining that the battle with the Death Ants has taken a heavy toll on their army. Many brave soldiers sacrificed their lives to weaken the swarm, and morale nearly collapsed. Toru's intervention turns the tide. His efforts not only eliminate the queen, but also bring hope and a sense of purpose back to the soldiers. For the army, their sacrifices are no longer in vain. Toru wonders if the Count planned all of this, orchestrating events to rely on him for the extermination. Jonathan clarifies that Toru hasn't just completed the task, he has saved the capital, and in truth, the entire country. With a sly smile, Jonathan hints that Toru is in for a significant reward, both in wealth and connections. Toru realizes that Jonathan, ever the shrewd operator, has outmaneuvered him once again, ensuring he benefits from Toru's heroics. Before Toru processes further, Jonathan mentions that others will soon arrive. Toru, puzzled, asks what he needs to prepare for. Just then, the sound of marching fills the air. The doors swing open, revealing a group of soldiers led by a stern-faced commander. The commander confirms that Toru and Kaida are members of the Manhwa Brigade. Upon hearing Kaida's confirmation, the soldiers, in perfect unison, salute and shout their gratitude. "Long live the savior of our homeland," they proclaim, their voices echoing with admiration. The scene shifts to King Armon's castle, where an elaborate ceremony is underway. The grand hall is filled with commanders and generals, many of whom whisper among themselves about Kaida's striking beauty. Toru and Kaida stand before the king, bowing respectfully. King Armon begins with heartfelt words, commending the defeat of the Death Ant Queen. Although much of her spawn has already been dealt with by the army, he acknowledges how monumental their accomplishment is. On behalf of his people, the king expresses his gratitude and presents Toru with a reward of 700 million. Toru, taken aback by the generous sum, humbly thanks the king. But the surprises aren't over. The king reveals he has one more announcement. Toru braces himself as the king declares his intention to grant the Manhwa Brigade the title of hero. Not as individuals but as a party, they will be recognized as heroes of the nation. Toru is stunned, finding the idea absurd. King Armon, sensing Toru's hesitation, reassures him that the title comes with no strings attached. Toru can renounce it at any time or even choose to train a successor. For now though, the king wants the Manhwa Brigade to carry this honor. Reluctantly, Toru agrees, with Kaida expressing her pride in him as her master. Toru, confused by her comment, mutters a question. But the moment passes as the king formally declares the Manhwa Brigade the heroes of the realm. As the applause rings out, Toru whispers to himself, "This is going to get a bit annoying." The next day, Jonathan makes an announcement as they approach their destination. He reveals to Toru and Kaida that they have arrived at a house perched on a cliff overlooking the mountains. Jonathan explains that Toru and Kaida can use the house for as long as they want. When they step inside, Kaida notices it is already fully furnished, and Toru remarks that it is a nice place. Kaida offers to make coffee, and while Toru accepts, he extends the offer to Jonathan. Jonathan declines, saying he has to leave. Before departing, Jonathan tells Toru about the letter, explaining it contains a request from Rowan to the king. Rowan wants Toru to be recognized as the hero of the country. Jonathan wishes them well in their new home. Toru scratches his head, realizing how everything falls into place after defeating the Ant Queen. It makes sense now. These are the kinds of honors reserved for heroes. The golden bracelet he receives is proof of this title. Toru wonders aloud why Rowan pushes for him to be made a hero. When he asks Jonathan if the title means they cannot leave the country, Jonathan assures him he is free to do as he pleases. He only needs to step in when the country truly needs him. With that, Jonathan leaves. Later, as Toru sips his coffee and relaxes, Kaida joins him. The two enjoy the peaceful moment together. While exploring the bustling city later, Toru wonders where Kaida has gone. His attention is soon drawn to two men chatting with her. The men try to convince Kaida to join them, boasting about their fame as B-rank adventurers. Kaida politely declines, saying she has other plans. Toru approaches, introducing himself as Kaida's partner and asking the men to step aside. When Kaida greets him as master, one of the men asks if she is his slave. Toru confirms it, but adds firmly that Kaida is also his partner and should not be spoken of as if she were just an object. Angered, the two men attack Toru, but he defeats them effortlessly. The men collapse to the ground in an instant. Toru turns to Kaida, asking if she is alright. She nods and thanks him. As they walk away, Toru asks why she does not defend herself. Kaida explains that she is moments away from beating the men to death but holds back. Toru chuckles, advising her to tone down her extreme reactions. The two spend the rest of the day shopping. They pick out new clothes for Kaida and items to decorate their home. As they walk, Toru reminisces about the day they first met. Kaida smiles, noting how much she has grown since then. Their attention is soon drawn to an announcement about a rafting attraction. Excited, they decide to give it a try. The ride starts smoothly, and they enjoy the scenic route. However, the boatman suddenly panics, realizing they are headed the wrong way. He urges everyone to hold on tight as the boat plunges down a waterfall. Kaida screams as water drenches them. Toru quickly checks on her, but Kaida only complains about her soaked clothes. Laughing, Toru reassures her it is all part of the fun. As night falls, they explore more of the city before gazing at the starlit sky. Toru thinks back to a similar evening in Luntata, a memory that brings a smile to his face. Turning to Kaida, he tells her how much joy she has brought into his life. Kaida agrees, saying she feels the same. Together, they decide to return home and prepare dinner, ending their day with a sense of warmth and companionship. Chapter 13 begins with Sayan casually eating an apple while chatting with his comrades. He asks if there is a dungeon near the capital. One of the women in the group confirms, saying she overhears two adventurers talking about it. She adds that the dungeon is known for its high difficulty and remains unexplored. The monsters inside drop rare items, making it an enticing challenge. Hearing this, Sin becomes excited. A dungeon this tough is the perfect opportunity to make a name for himself. Even the most experienced adventurers have not cleared it. If he becomes the first to conquer it, he will gain fame and recognition. Without hesitation, he tells his comrades they are going to tackle the dungeon. Everyone agrees, eager for the challenge. As the party journeys through the forest leading to the dungeon, they notice something odd. The forest's biome changes rapidly, creating an unnatural atmosphere. Upon reaching the dungeon's entrance, they see a crowd of adventurers. The area is packed with people hoping to explore the dungeon. Using his appraisal skill, Sin assesses the adventurers and sees they are mostly low-level thieves. He dismisses them as unworthy of his attention. Determined to claim the dungeon for themselves, Sin and his party enter, ready to clear it as quickly as possible and claim the glory. But soon, things take a turn for the worse. Deeper inside, they encounter a group of orcs. To their shock, the orcs are at an astonishing level 52. One of the women in the party questions Sin, pointing out that orcs are usually around level 20. She even doubts whether Sin assesses their level correctly. Annoyed, Sin tells her to be quiet, admitting that even he finds it hard to believe. As the situation escalates, one party member, Saurer, is quickly incapacitated and unable to fight. Suddenly, an orc attacks Sin, sending him crashing into a wall. The two remaining women rush to protect him and Saurer. Sin yells for them to move out of the way, claiming he will handle the orcs with his ultimate skill. He unleashes a powerful lightning attack, confident it will destroy them all. However, to his horror, the skill has no effect. The orcs remain completely unharmed. Panic sets in as Sin realizes he is out of magic. He frantically orders Lisa to do something. Lisa tries her dream magic skill, but it also fails to affect the orcs. Fear spreads through the group as they realize the monsters are far stronger than expected. Sin yells at Lisa to create a wall to block the orcs, and she quickly uses her magic to do so. The group tries to regroup and plan their escape, but the wall does not hold for long. The orcs shatter it and charge toward them. Sin, overwhelmed with fear, shouts for everyone to retreat. But instead of helping his comrades, he sprints toward the exit as fast as he can, abandoning the three women to face the oncoming threat alone. Outside the dungeon, Sin and his party stumble out, completely drained from their harrowing encounter. Sin turns to Lisa, his frustration boiling over. Without warning, he slaps her across the face, accusing her of not using her magic effectively. He blames the entire group for holding him back. Insisting they are slowing him down, Lisa stammering apologizes. She tries to explain that if Sour had not fainted during the fight, she could have done more to help. Sour, now conscious, immediately apologizes as well, looking ashamed. The short-haired woman in the group steps in, urging them to stop arguing, saying glances around and notices that other adventurers are watching them. Embarrassment prickles at him as he realizes he needs to calm down. Losing his temper in front of others is a bad habit, one he cannot afford to show now. Yet deep down, he feels a bitter sense of disappointment. His thoughts wander to Toru, recalling how Toru always manages to turn even the worst situations into victories. Sin cannot help but ask himself why he is thinking about Toru now, of all times. As he stands there, his attention is drawn to a group of adventurers exiting the dungeon. They are chatting happily, bragging about the loot and experience they have gained. Their success irritates Sane. Lisa cautiously suggests they ask those adventurers for tips on navigating the dungeon, but Sane snaps at her. He cannot stomach the idea of showing weakness to anyone. He is supposed to be the hero after all. Sane appraises the three adventurers. Each of them is at level 30, lower than him. A spark of jealousy and anger ignites within him. If they can succeed, why cannot he? His mind twists into a dark plan. He will kill them and take everything they have. In his mind, this is justified. He is the hero, and heroes do not fail. Determined, Sane follows the group discreetly, hiding behind a large dead tree. He grips his sword tightly, ready to strike. With his current level, he is certain he can eliminate them in an instant. But as he prepares to attack, something unexpected happens. The adventurers sit down near the tree, completely unaware of Sin's presence. Then, to his utter disbelief, they begin relieving themselves right there, all three of them at the same time. One of the adventurers notices him watching and, clearly offended, yells at him to leave. In a moment of irritation, the man picks up what he just dropped and throws it at Sine. The foul projectile lands squarely in his mouth. Back at the meeting point, Sin's party members grow impatient. The short-haired woman wrinkles her nose, noticing a strange odor wafting through the air. As the smell intensifies, Lisa turns to see Sine approaching. She comments on his lateness. Sine, still reeling from the incident, tries to brush it off, claiming that negotiations fail. His eyes squint shut, covered in the disgusting remnants of his encounter. The women in his party unanimously agree he needs to stay far away until he cleans up. Someone even suggests he take a dip in the sea before returning, for everyone's sake. At the grand mansion in the capital of Armon, Toru and Kaida sit comfortably sharing drinks. Toru glances at the champagne bottle in front of him, remarking on how expensive it looks. Kaida explains that such luxury is normal in the home of the most important marquis in the capital. Everything here is first class after all. Toru's sealed monster unexpectedly emerges. Toru, caught off guard, scolds it for coming out without permission. He marvels at how effortlessly the creature bypasses the seal. Kaida, always lighthearted, turns to Toru and teasingly calls him Mr. 31, asking why he chooses to sit all the way in the back. Toru, unsure how events like this typically unfold, admits to himself that staying at a distance is the safest option for observing. They are, after all, at an auction house, not their usual kind of place. The reason they come to this event is tied to an earlier visit that day. Someone knocks on the door of their residence, and to Toru's surprise, it is none other than Count Rowan. The Count explains that he hears Toru is in the capital and wants to pay a visit. Toru takes the opportunity to mention his newfound title of hero, something he earns partly because of Rowan's influence. The Count chuckles and dismisses the remark, saying Toru makes it sound like a duty when it isn't meant to be, and says he wants to show his thanks in the best way possible. This is simply a token of appreciation. When Toru asks after Marianne, Rowan reveals she stays at home. While eager to see Toru, her focus is now on training as a future wife. Then, leaning in slightly, the Count shares a secret with Toru. Even a commoner who becomes a hero, he says, can marry a noble woman. Toru, puzzled, responds that he hears about such things before, but doesn't see how it applies to him. The Count merely smiles, cryptically suggesting Toru will understand in time. Before leaving, Rowan extends an invitation to an auction, suggesting Toru might find something intriguing there, and advising him to watch from a distance to get a sense of the event. Now seated at the auction house, Toru and Kaida position themselves at the back. The auction begins with much fanfare as the host welcomes the wealthy guests. The rules are straightforward. The person who offers the most money by the end of the bidding wins the item. The first item on display is a massive diamond. Excitement fills the room as the bidding starts. People eagerly raise their bids, and within minutes, hundreds of thousands are spent. Toru sits in disbelief, amazed at how quickly fortunes exchange hands. The host then introduces the next item, calling it a legendary object capable of striking fear into any enemy, an ability-blocking scroll. The host explains starting the bid at 1 million, Toru, intrigued, places the first bid. To his surprise, no one else joins in. The host declares Toru, number 31, the winner of the scroll for 1 million. Toru is pleased with his purchase, and Kaida curiously asks what the scroll can do. Toru explains that it is a relic left behind by an ancient race, its secrets still unknown. Even in modern times, no one replicates its creation. It is a powerful and rare item. Next up is something even more astonishing, a life extension potion. This item is so valuable that it can save its owner from death once. The bidding war for it is intense, and it sells for a staggering 850 million. Toru shakes his head in amazement, thinking the madness can't get any worse. But it does. The next item is a rare and exotic slave, a high elf, a species so uncommon they are never seen on the market. The bidding climbs to 500 million before it is sold to number 9. Then the host introduces another rarity, a member of a small race from the depths of the forest, a fairy. What makes this item extraordinary is its wings, which contain magical dust capable of granting the ability to fly. The host declares it the highlight of the auction. The bidding starts at 5 million and the price quickly soars. As the bids climb higher, Toru suddenly hears a faint voice. It is soft but clear, saying, "Help, please." Confused, he turns to Kaida and asks if she spoke. Kaida shakes her head and says she didn't. The voice comes again, pleading for help. Toru begins to wonder whose voice it could be. Then he hears it more clearly. "Grand Race, please get Frau out of here. The fairies are servants of the Grand Race, please help." Toru freezes in shock. The voice isn't coming from anyone around him. It's coming from the fairy on display. Somehow he can hear its desperate plea, a voice meant only for him. Toru enters the bidding war with a bold offer of 600 million. He observes the tense atmosphere, convinced his rivals are running out of money. But then, a man counters with 630 million, locking eyes with Toru and taunting him with a cruel laugh. The man boasts that he won't let Toru have the fairy. Disgusted and angered, Toru wonders who this perverted man is. Determined, he resolves not to let the fairy fall into such hands. The bids escalate, each pushing the stakes higher. Toru decides to go all in, raising his bid to an astonishing 1 billion. The room falls silent. The man concedes, and with that, Toru wins the fairy for a staggering 1 billion. The fairy, still trapped in her tiny cage, glances around trying to spot the winner. Meanwhile, the host addresses the audience, announcing the end of the auction and thanking everyone for their participation. Before wrapping up, the host invites recommendations for future events. Toru raises his hand and declares he has something to sell right away. The host invites him to the stage, where Toru places a bottle on the table. The host asks if it's a high potion, but Toru corrects him. It's an elixir. He explains that the elixir is a first-class medicine capable of healing any injury instantly. Whether an arm is severed or a heart stops, the elixir will restore life with a single sip. Intrigued, the host calls an appraiser to verify the claim. Once confirmed as genuine, the host asks for a starting price. Toru confidently sets it at 10 million. Excitement ripples through the audience as the bidding begins. Prices soar rapidly, eventually reaching a staggering 2.5 billion. Toru is astonished. He never expects the elixir to sell for so much. Later, at the event office, the auction manager praises Toru for adding such a thrilling surprise to the event. The manager then asks if the cost of the fairy can be deducted from the elixir's selling price. Toru agrees, realizing with amazement that his fortune has doubled. He starts with 1.2 billion and now possesses a sum that feels almost unreal. The manager hands over the fairy in her delicate little cage. As Toru looks at her, he remembers when he first sees Kaida at the slave shop. Smiling, he comments on how much she has changed. Kaida seems confused by his words. Back at home, Kaida opens the cage. Toru gently encourages the fairy to come out, assuring her he isn't going to harm her. The fairy declares that humans are cunning and warns that she won't be easily fooled. Toru notices her cautious demeanor and can't blame her. His attention shifts to the small hammer she holds and he asks if it's hers, commenting on how cool it looks. At that moment, Kaida appears, bringing Toru some tea. Toru thanks her and offers the fairy something to drink as well. He then asks Kaida if they have cookies from the market. Kaida confirms and retrieves them. The mention of cookies catches the fairy's attention. A short while later, the fairy sits inside her little cage, nibbling on the cookies. Though she still refuses to come out, Toru thinks she seems to be warming up to them. Kaida then asks her master why he purchased the fairy. Toru explains that he hears a voice asking for help, seemingly out of nowhere. The fairy freezes, stunned that Toru hears her prayers. Toru clarifies that at first he thinks it's his imagination, but it soon becomes clear the voice belongs to her. Realizing this, the fairy steps out of her cage for the first time and bows respectfully. She apologizes for her earlier behavior, addressing Toru as her lord. Toru, confused, asks what she means. He doesn't recall ever meeting her before. The fairy hesitates, then asks how a dragon man can live unnoticed among humans. Toru, taken aback, insists he has no idea what she's talking about. The fairy's expression brightens, and she exclaims with joy that she has finally found him. Kaida is equally shocked. Toru, puzzled by her reaction, asks what she means and reminds her that she has appraised his stats before. How could she not have noticed? Kaida quickly uses her appraisal skill again. She confirms it's true. Toru is a dragon man. Toru remains confused, asking if that's supposed to be something bad. Kaida explains that dragon men are an ancient, powerful race with a highly advanced civilization, known for leaving behind many relics. Toru, still skeptical, admits he doesn't feel any different. He adds that he levels up so quickly he barely notices anything unusual. The fairy introduces herself as Frau, a member of the fairy tribe, and addresses Toru as her lord. She expresses her gratitude for being saved from the humans. Toru assures her it isn't a big deal and offers to cancel her master-servant contract, saying she can return home whenever she wants. Frau quickly rejects the idea, explaining that going back without him would lead to humiliation. Her parents, siblings, and even the neighbors would ridicule her. She adds that the neighbors might even throw stones at her, calling her a useless cutting board. Toru chuckles quietly, guessing her size might be the reason for such a nickname. Frau, however, stands firm and asks if Toru thinks she isn't strong enough to stand by his side. She boasts about being a level 30 warrior, confident in her abilities despite her appearance. Before the conversation can continue, Frau is startled, asking what the white creature is. Toru introduces it as his monster companion, a panda. Frau laughs at the name, finding it amusing. The panda, curious about the lively fairy, follows her as she flits around the room. Frau playfully teases the panda before reassuring it she's only joking. Kaida observes the scene with a smile, happy to see the two getting along. The next morning, Toru wakes up to find Frau sleeping beside him. When Kaida enters the room, Toru greets her, and she asks if he has seen Frau. Carrying the still sleeping fairy, Toru explains that she must have crawled into his bed during the night without warning. Gently, he places her on the panda's fluffy head. During breakfast, Kaida asks Toru how long they plan to stay in the capital. Toru replies that they might stay for about a week. Their conversation is interrupted when Frau suddenly wakes up, confused about her surroundings. After a moment, she sighs, remembering she has been rescued by her master. Toru quickly tells her to stop referring to him so formally, saying it makes him uncomfortable. Frau protests, pointing out that Kaida, from the Beast tribe, also uses honorifics. Toru explains that he allows Kaida to do so because it is natural for her. Frau, however, refuses to accept the reasoning, insisting that addressing Toru with such respect is natural for her as well. She adds that she wouldn't feel this way if Toru weren't her lord. Toru smiles and tries once more to convince her to stop, but Frau stands her ground, declaring it would be outrageous to call her lord by his name. Kaida steps in, saying she understands Frau's feelings, and Frau gratefully thanks her for her support. Toru observes Frau and Kaida interacting, and thinks it is impressive how well they get along. He feels relieved and happy to see their bond growing. As they discuss their next destination, Frau immediately proposes visiting the fairy village, explaining that it is located in a neighboring country within the right forest. She mentions that this time of year the flowers are in full bloom, and the village has fascinating ruins filled with artifacts that might interest Toru. Curious, Toru asks about the food there. Frau enthusiastically replies that the village has plenty of local delicacies, particularly recommending the secret fairy bee honey. Hearing that, Toru smiles and agrees that their next stop will be the fairy village. However, Frau warns them that fairies don't like humans and that there is a risk of being attacked. Toru laughs, brushing off the concern, saying he doesn't mind if that happens. Kaida joins in, agreeing they might not be well received. Frau, offended, firmly tells them not to underestimate the fairies, boasting that the village warriors are even stronger than humans. Toru, still amused, promises to be careful. Switching topics, Kaida asks what they should do for the day and suggests visiting the guild to accept some quests. Toru agrees, pointing out that they haven't been out in public for a while. At the guild, Toru, Kaida, Frau, and Panda walk in together, immediately catching the attention of the other adventurers. Whispers spread through the room as people recognize them as the Manhwa Brigade. Two excited women approach, asking to shake Toru's hand. Others hand him papers, eagerly requesting autographs. The room buzzes with excitement, leaving Toru baffled. He wonders what is happening while Frau, equally surprised, demands to know why no one has told her her master is so famous. Moments later, the guild leader appears and warmly greets them. He announces that the Manhwa Brigade is no longer a B-ranked party and has been promoted to S rank, declaring them heroes of the country. Toru, overwhelmed by the attention, quietly asks Kaida to create an orb of light to help them escape. Kaida casts the spell and the group vanishes in an instant. As the adventurers below panic, determined to find the Manhwa Brigade and get their autographs, Toru and his group reappear on the roof of the guild building. Toru says he doubts they can visit the guild again after causing such a scene. Kaida laughs, agreeing with him. Deciding to take it easy for the rest of the day, the group returns home. Toru suggests baking as a relaxing activity and tells Frau to prepare herself for Kaida's cooking, boasting that Kaida is a gourmet expert. Far from the city, Toru stands ready, his body surrounded by a powerful magical aura. He begins by channeling water magic. A massive surge of water shoots from his hand, obliterating a nearby rocky mountain in an instant. Next, he uses earth magic, causing the ground to tremble violently, as if struck by an earthquake, and Kaida covers her ears against the sound of the explosions. Before Kaida can finish commenting on the destruction, Toru interrupts, declaring it isn't enough. He moves on to wind magic, summoning a colossal tornado that tears through the area, followed by another powerful wind spell. Explosions erupt everywhere, kicking up so much dust that Kaida can barely see. She can't help but wonder why Toru uses wind magic twice. Toru, however, isn't satisfied. It still doesn't feel right. Just as he is about to try again, Kaida calls out, stopping him. She hesitates, admitting it pains her to say this as his slave, but points out that his magic is too dangerous. She explains that while Toru's power is incredible, his spells are unstable and difficult to control. If used in a populated area, he could easily hurt someone. Realizing the problem, Toru acknowledges the flaw. He wields 4 magical attributes with limitless power, but his lack of precision makes them hard to use effectively. Meanwhile, Frau sits nearby contentedly petting Panda's fluffy fur. Determined to try something different, Toru draws his sword and muses aloud about a childhood dream of wielding a flaming blade. Channeling fire magic, he ignites the sword, creating a powerful blaze. The flames are so intense that Frau and Panda back away in fear. Frau demands to know if Toru is trying to kill them. Toru quickly apologizes, insisting it isn't intentional. Kaida notices the fire is so intense, it even evaporates the clouds above them. Suddenly, a notification appears before Toru, surprising him. He realizes the dungeon he visited earlier has leveled up from level 3 to level 5. Kaida notices his reaction and asks what is wrong. Toru explains he hears a bell, followed by several system announcements about the dungeon. Kaida mentions she has heard rumors about a high-level dungeon in the capital. It is known for its rare items and has become popular among adventurers. Toru realizes it is the same dungeon where they defeated the Death Ants. The increase in the dungeon's level makes sense, given the high number of adventurers who died there. Frau, impressed, remarks that Toru's action seems fitting for someone serving a demon king. This panics Toru, who denies any such intentions. Despite his concern, he admits it is somewhat exciting to have a dungeon connected to him. After all, it is technically his dungeon now and he suggests they investigate. Kaida observes his reaction and notes how positive and adaptable Toru is. While checking the notifications, Toru notices something called My Room and asks Kaida if she knows what it means. It appears to allow them to teleport to a specific place. Curious, Kaida suggests they investigate, and the group teleports to the dungeon. They find themselves in a stunning space that looks like the interior of a grand palace. In the center stands a large stone, which appears to be the focus of the room. However, Toru examines it and realizes it isn't the actual central stone of the dungeon, it is on the floor just beneath it. Taking in their surroundings, Toru suggests they use the space for storage. Kaida agrees, pointing out that their magic storage is nearly full. She asks if she can have a small section for herself. Toru, amused, assures her she can use as much space as she needs, though Kaida insists she only requires a little. She begins arranging items from crates, and Toru notices one of his shirts among them. Realizing that some of his clothes have mysteriously gone missing recently, he decides to pretend he hasn't seen it. He thinks it might be a good idea to build a wall to give Kaida her own private area. Meanwhile, Frau declares that part of the space belongs to her. Panda, however, claims he saw it first. A playful argument ensues, and Toru can't help but laugh as Panda, being much larger, easily overpowers Frau. The next morning, back at the house, Kaida finishes washing their clothes while Toru enjoys the peaceful view, thinking there is nothing better than starting the day with a good cup of coffee. He feels like he is in paradise. Kaida calls out, reminding him they need to plan for the day. Toru agrees and asks what is on her mind. Kaida mentions Frau's clothing situation. It seems she only has one outfit. Frau explains she lost the rest of her clothes when she was captured by humans. Kaida suggests they buy her some new ones and asks Toru if they can visit the town. Toru agrees, adding that he also needs to buy more clothes for himself. Kaida smiles at his response. In town, they wander the streets enjoying the sights and window shopping. Finding clothes for Frau proves challenging due to her size, and Kaida eventually suggests they check a doll shop. Inside, as Toru browses the displays, he is reminded of the dolls Nei and Sora had as children. He also recalls that Lisa once owned an expensive doll, but quickly lost interest in it. Toru imagines himself asking Lisa why she discarded the doll, only to hear her cold reply, she didn't need it anymore, just like she didn't need him. Kaida notices Toru lost in thought and asks if he is okay. Toru apologizes, saying his mind wandered. As they talk, the shop owner, an elderly man, steps outside, appearing a bit troubled. Toru politely asks if the man happens to sell fairy-sized clothes. The old man's eyes widen in surprise when he sees Frau, a real fairy. He calls it an incredible coincidence and asks them to wait a moment. The man returns with a small fairy costume, explaining it was made by his late wife. The couple shared a love for fairies, and it had been his wife's dream that one day a real fairy would wear the clothes she made. The man offers the outfit to Toru, saying he would be honored if they take it, and assures them it is free of charge. Kaida hesitates, pointing out that the outfit has sentimental value as it belonged to his wife. But Frau steps forward, saying it is fine if the old man wants to give it to her. She admits she doesn't trust humans much, but is touched by how much the man cares about fulfilling his wife's dream. Frau promises to honor that dream and declares that this little Frau will make it happen. Toru can't help but feel skeptical, wondering if someone like Frau can truly carry out such a promise. The old man shares stories about how he became a doll clothes maker, his passion stemming from his wife's love for fairies. As he speaks, Frau interrupts, showing off the fairy clothes she is now wearing. She asks Toru for his opinion. Toru replies that the outfit suits her and that she looks very pretty. Frau blushes deeply, clearly thrilled by the praise, and declares how much she loves being complimented by her lord. The group thanks the old man before leaving the shop. As they walk away, the man looks at a photo of his late wife, smiling as he remarks how glad he is that her dream has finally come true. Then he notices a small bag left on the counter. Opening it, he finds a note that reads, "Thank you for the clothes. Use this to keep making your dolls." Inside the bag is a generous amount of money. The old man stares in awe, wondering who that young man has been. Meanwhile, as they continue down the street, Toru tells Frau to take good care of her new clothes. Frau assures him that she will. Kaida smiles, happy that they have made such a meaningful purchase. Chapter 16 begins with Kaida cheerfully greeting Toru and reminding him to hand over his clothes for washing. Toru returns her greeting, noticing her good mood, but she brushes it off, saying it's nothing special, and mentioning she has some new shirts for him. Nearby, Panda and Frau are still sound asleep, surrounded by leftover food from the night. Kaida points out that Toru's shirt is stained with food and reminds him that the hot night might have left him sweating. Toru chuckles, jokingly wondering if he smells bad. Kaida quickly reassures him, he doesn't even commenting that he smells quite nice. Relieved, Toru passes the shirt to her, not noticing as Kaida secretly takes a small sniff of it. During breakfast, Toru notices the bread and coffee taste different. Kaida explains she bought them from a bakery recommended by a neighbor. They both agree their current lifestyle feels peaceful and comfortable, with Toru admitting he's afraid he might never want to leave. Kaida smiles and asks what his plans are for the day. Toru admits he can't think of anywhere else to go after exploring so much recently. She then asks if he wouldn't mind joining her for some shopping, explaining they are running out of food faster than expected. Toru laughs, thinking about how Frau eats enough for 5 people. After breakfast, Toru starts washing the dishes when a loud crash interrupts him. Frau and Panda have accidentally broken a window while playing. Toru yells for them to come back, frustrated by the mess. Later, while strolling through town, Toru overhears a group of adventurers discussing sandworms that have recently appeared in various fields around Armand. They mention the disturbances are occurring in the nearby desert, caused by extreme weather events like tornadoes, heavy rains, and earthquakes. These natural disasters have thrown the sandworms' habitat into chaos, forcing them to the surface. The adventurers talk about how the guild is overwhelmed with requests to hunt the worms, as their regenerative abilities make them a significant nuisance. Some even speculate this might be a sign of an impending natural catastrophe. Hearing this, let's just pretend I didn't hear that. Kaida and Toru spend the morning gathering supplies for their next journey: fruits, vegetables, and even canned goods. As they wander through the vibrant market, Toru takes a moment to admire the lively town. He reflects that it's time to move on, though Kaida remarks it's a little sad to say goodbye after settling into a comfortable routine here. Toru agrees, understanding her sentiment. The town has become familiar to him, with its bustling streets and friendly faces. For a moment he feels tempted to stay, but this journey isn't just about exploring, it's about healing. Toru reminds himself he can't remain stuck in one place, not while carrying the weight of his past. This is a journey to clear his mind and find peace. Resolving to move forward, he asks Kaida if there's anything else she needs to buy. As they continue through the market, Toru notices a woman frantically calling for someone. She is searching for her 5-year-old daughter, Humin, who has gotten separated in the crowd. Toru and Kaida immediately offer to help, scanning the busy square for any sign of the child. Despite their efforts, they can't spot her. That's when Toru has an idea. He turns to Kaida and asks if she can track the girl by scent. They return to the worried mother, who hands them a handkerchief her daughter had been holding. Kaida sniffs it and confidently announces Humin is still nearby. Following her keen sense of smell, they head toward the back of some buildings. There, they hear the sound of a child crying. To their surprise, they find Panda and Frau sitting with the lost girl, trying to comfort her. Kaida sighs with relief, happy to see Humin is safe. But before they can celebrate, the ground beneath them begins to tremble. With a loud crash, a massive worm-like monster erupts from the earth. Reacting instantly, Toru rushes to grab Humin and her mother, pulling them to safety. He turns to Kaida and asks her to distract the worm while he evacuates the mother and child. The battle with the monster begins in earnest. Kaida lures the giant worm out of the town to protect the people. Toru asks Frau and Panda to stay behind and ensure Humin and her mother are safe. With their safety assured, Toru focuses on the battle. He knows the worms are his responsibility and feels the weight of his actions. But there's no time for regret now. It's time to take them down. While Kaida distracts the monstrous worm, it suddenly strikes her, hurling her into a building. Toru rushes in, delivering a powerful kick that splits the creature apart. He thinks the fight is over, but the worm regenerates almost instantly. Shocked, Toru recalls the adventurers mentioning the worm's rapid healing abilities. He asks Kaida if she is okay. She nods but adds, embarrassed, that the worm's acid has melted her clothes and she wishes he wouldn't look too closely. Kaida admits that ice magic is impossible without her iron fan, which she hasn't brought. When Toru asks for suggestions, Kaida grimly says he might have to use his magic, even if it means they could all die in the process. Toru feels stunned by her lack of faith in his abilities. He realizes that if he makes a mistake, the entire city could be destroyed. He decides magic will be their last resort, only if there is no other option. He needs a way to stop the worm's regeneration, not just destroy it temporarily. Then an idea strikes him. Toru tells Kaida to be ready with her wind magic when he gives the signal. He grabs the monster and hurls it high into the sky. Shouting the signal, he instructs Kaida to use her wind magic to propel him upward. With a strong gust, Kaida sends Toru soaring after the worm. High above the town, Toru finally has enough space to unleash his full power without fear of collateral damage. He unleashes his fiery magic, engulfing the worm in a massive inferno. The fire is so intense that the creature is reduced to ashes, unable to regenerate. The townspeople below watch in awe as a fiery explosion lights up the sky, and the intense heat even evaporates the clouds. Back on the ground, Human and her mother thank Frau for her help. Toru, watching them reunite, feels relieved that everything works out. Kaida adds that it is a relief no one is hurt. Frau proudly declares that she has protected Human and her mother, demanding Toru's praise. Toru pats her on the head, though Frau isn't entirely satisfied. Toru laughs, thinking he has done all he could, especially after her earlier mischief with the broken window. Later, at the house, Toru returns the key to Mr. Jonathan. Jonathan asks where they are headed next. Toru mentions they are going to Gregit for the moment and promises to contact Jonathan through the guild if needed. Jonathan, with a touch of humor, reminds Toru not to cause trouble in other kingdoms, pointing out that he is now considered a hero of the country. As they are saying their goodbyes, Panda suddenly begins to cry. Without warning, it lunges at Jonathan, hitting him hard in the stomach. Everyone is stunned. While Jonathan recovers, Frau tugs at Panda, explaining that its strength is a bit excessive for a simple farewell. Kaida shouts an apology on behalf of Panda, while Jonathan waves them off, muttering about how noisy they are. With everything settled, Toru, Kaida, Frau, and Panda set off for their next destination, the fairy village, ready for the adventures that await them. At the border town of Gregit, Toru and his group settle into a rented house. Morning light streams through the windows as Toru wakes, feeling refreshed. Moments later, Kaida enters the room, greeting him with a cheerful good morning. Her early presence surprises him. She explains that she has already been out, bringing back bread for breakfast from the town. When he asks if she is ready for the day, Kaida confirms with a nod and reminds him of their plan to visit the fairy village that morning. A small laugh escapes him as he remarks how Frau's excitement about the trip hasn't wavered. Kaida muses aloud that perhaps Frau is trying to get him to do something specific. Toru agrees. It is possible. Frau has indeed been searching for him. As Toru straps on his armor, Kaida's keen eyes notice something amiss. The armor, well worn and cherished, is on the brink of breaking. It is evident Toru has grown attached to it, but Kaida suggests it might be time for a replacement. Her enthusiasm lights up the room as she declares she knows exactly where he can find new armor. Toru hesitates, a peculiar sense of deja vu brushing over him. Their journey takes them through familiar streets, yet anticipation lingers in Toru's mind. He suspects their destination might hold something unexpected. Arriving at a grand structure, Kaida identifies it as the Temple of the Sacred Weapon. The name piques Toru's curiosity, and he questions whether the sacred weapon is supposed to be a sword. Kaida confirms but expands on the concept. Sacred weapons, she explains, aren't bound to a single form. They can transform into various shapes, but not on a whim. The wielder needs a clear image in mind to guide the transformation. Toru absorbs this knowledge and ponders aloud whether it is possible for someone to wield more than one sacred weapon. Kaida elaborates, reminding him of the incredible attributes of sacred weapons. They are unparalleled, nearly indestructible, and capable of providing immense status boosts, even temporarily elevating their user's level. In ancient times, their wielders are revered, likened to those who bear the crown of a king. The idea of owning more than one is nearly unthinkable, as even a single weapon inspires awe and fear. Still, Kaida's unwavering faith in him shines through, assuring him that as her master, he is exceptional. At the temple's entrance, Toru notices footprints in the dirt. 3 or 4 people have recently passed through. Frau voices her concern, wondering if someone might have already claimed the weapon they seek. Determined, Toru suggests they press on and take a look for themselves. The heavy doors creak open, revealing the sight they hope for, a sword embedded in the stone floor. Relief washes over the group. The sacred weapon is still there. As Toru approaches the sword, doubts gnaw at him. Can he truly transform it into armor? The uncertainty clings to him, yet he grasps the hilt and prepares to pull it free. A few days earlier, in the bustling capital of Armand, the hero party arrives at the Adventurers Guild. Scene steps forward and introduces their group as the White Fang Party. He inquires about high-paying jobs. People are staring, and Sein, ever confident, assumes it is due to their awe. Surely they cannot believe that he, the hero, has graced this place with his presence. Turning to the receptionist, Sein asks if something is wrong. She explains that if he is looking for work, he can find it on the job board like everyone else. He presses her, questioning if she truly doesn't recognize him. He, Sein, leader of an S-rank party, the hero. The receptionist merely nods, and what about that remark? Makes his blood boil. Sein fumes silently, comparing this treatment to how he is revered in his hometown. There, his name commands respect and guild leaders bow to him. Here, he is just another adventurer. If Sein wants special treatment, he first needs to earn a name in this country, like the Manhwa Brigade, with another adventurer dismissing the idea as impossible. The mockery ignites Sein's fury. Without hesitation, he strides to the source of the laughter and strikes the man with a powerful punch. Gasps fill the room as the victim's companion demands to know what he is doing. Sein, undeterred, delivers a kick, silencing the protests. One of the men clutching his side calls Sein a freak, only for Sein to retort that the insult is deserved for offending a hero. But the room begins to turn against him. Another adventurer shouts that no real hero would attack people unprovoked, labeling him a fraud and calling for his removal from the guild. The commotion escalates as Shin lays waste to his detractors, his blows scattering them like leaves. He sneers at their inability to stand against him, reminding them they are barely level 30, no match for someone of his caliber. Amid the chaos, Sour, one of his party members, pleading with him to stop before someone is killed. Her words briefly pierce Sein's rage. Choking one of the adventurers, he realizes that causing a death here could have dire consequences, potentially landing him in jail. Reluctantly, he releases his grip and composes himself. Turning to the receptionist, Sein demands to know about this Manhwa Brigade. She recounts how the Manhwa Brigade achieves what even the National Army cannot. They defeat the Queen of the Death Ant and destroy her nest. For this unprecedented feat, the guild grants them the title of Hero, despite their official rank being B, that the guild considers them equivalent to S rank. Sein stands frozen. The Queen of the Death Ant, an enemy of such magnitude, defeated by this unknown party. The thought is absurd, outraged at the notion of another group being hailed as heroes. To him, this is no mere affront. These people, overshadowing him in fame and glory, unthinkable. The Manhwa Brigade must have formed recently. Yet, if they truly possess the strength to overcome the Death Ant Queen, they are not ordinary. The adventurer who slays the dragon unsheathes the sacred sword and traverses the ruins of Einarch. Could it be the same person who forms the Manhwa Brigade? The puzzle pieces click into place, and Sein's eyes widen as understanding dawns. Turning back to the receptionist, he demands to know the party's current location. They have recently left the capital and are now heading toward Grigit. Sein's thoughts shift to the second sacred sword, said to lie near Grigit. The timing is perfect. He barks orders to his party, commanding them to move out immediately, leaving the wounded behind. Grigit awaits, and Sein intends to get there before his newfound rivals can claim what he believes is rightfully his. In the town of Grigit, Sein stands with a smirk, his gaze fixed on the inn where he hears the Manhwa Brigade is staying. Confidence radiates from him as he declares to his party that they have found their target. His plan is clear: locate the sacred sword first, then deal with the so-called heroes who dare overshadow him. He is, after all, a bearer of a sacred sword. But until he obtains another, he is at a disadvantage. At the Temple of Grigit, Sein's party enters and immediately spots the sacred sword embedded in the ground before them. Saurer, one of his companions, encourages him, her voice filled with hope. The rest of the group joins in, cheering him on, certain this moment will reward all his efforts. Sein stands before the sword, trying to compose himself. A heroic atmosphere, he thinks, is essential. His voice carries solemnity as he speaks of his hardships, the countless challenges he has faced to get to this point. But all of that ends here. With this sword, he will achieve his ultimate goal and crush the Manhwa Brigade. Sein reaches for the sword, he pulls, but the sword doesn't budge. One of his party members tells him to stop fooling around. Sein bristles at the comment, insisting the sword is testing him and that it isn't supposed to be easy. He summons all his strength, muscles straining as he tries again. His companions continue to cheer, with Lisa reminding him that, as the hero, this should be simple for him. Saurer notices his reddened face and wonders aloud if he is coming down with a fever. The hours stretch on, and still the sword remains firmly in place. 24 hours pass and Sein makes no progress. Exhausted and defeated, his party finally leaves the temple, empty-handed. The following day, Toru and Kaida arrive at the temple. Without ceremony, Toru approaches the sword, wraps his fingers around the hilt, and pulls. The sword slides free with effortless grace, Kaida exclaiming that she told him so. Frau chimes in, declaring that there is truly nothing her master can't handle. As Toru holds the sword aloft, its shape begins to shift, metal twisting and flowing until it transforms into a suit of armor. Kaida's excitement spills over as she exclaims that her master has gained new armor. Frau adds that, while she always imagines him in heavy armor, this lighter form suits him well. Toru looks down at the armor now adorning him, feeling something unfamiliar yet comfortable. When Kaida asks how it feels, he swings his arms experimentally, marveling at its flexibility. Though it is metal, it moves like leather, and he admits it feels remarkably good. Kaida's response is, "That's what matters." Toru's curiosity surfaces as he asks if sacred weapons can be appraised. Kaida activates her appraisal skill. She explains that her level isn't high enough to read the armor's information. Even if she improves her skills, she suspects the result will remain the same. Perhaps, she muses, the armor's sophisticated magic shields its secrets.